me tonight. I spent the last week running from the heat, but the beat's coming alive. Let's get lost tonight. Lord, who's on my right?
Hello, wackos. Welcome to Without a Country. I am your host, Corinne Fisher, stand-up comedian, former mayoral candidate, podcast host, person who greatly annoys men. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. If you're an OG day one wacko, if this is your first time tuning into the show, welcome, welcome, welcome. That is my attitude this week, and in general, during these dark times. If you are ready to, I feel religious now because I'm like, if you're ready to make a change, we welcome you. I do think like it's an easy time to be so angry at people who voted for Donald Trump, who were, extremely pro this immigration with that it seemingly was going to happen swift, with no plan, with no due process. And anyone kind of looking at it could see that it was either impossible or was going to be a chaotic mess. And it is a chaotic mess filled with bloodshed. But, I'm on Threads, and every day I see people being like, I never thought I would say this, but I just registered for the Democratic Party, or I'm off Trump. And I know, again, so many people are angry right now and might take this opportunity to be like, F you, you suck, I don't want you. But my attitude is, let's welcome these people with open arms whenever they are ready. That's what I'm going around Threads saying, welcome, we're happy to have you. And I'm not saying it to be a silly goose. I'm saying it because I really mean it. At any time you are ready to come over, and I'm not talking like the establishment Democratic Party, I'm just saying anytime you're ready to come over to the left and see what we're doing over here and try to help us and bring your ideas too. Obviously, the right has some good ideas as far as mobilization and enthusiasm. I just don't agree with their policies. So if you want to bring the same, organizing process over to the left's policies, let's mix and match and make this work. I think that's the idea right now, because what I hope that people start to realize, if you haven't realized this already, is it is us versus them, but it's not left versus right. It's regular people versus a couple of billionaires and people in power. And hopefully, when U.S. citizens are getting gunned down the streets, in the streets, if that's not the wake-up call that you needed, I really don't know what will be, although I fear I've said similar sentences to that many, many, many times over the course of this show. As usual, Mike, is me hearing you, is that just me? I can hear you, or can the listeners hear you? We just do this it's like a bit that we do every week. where I just hear Mike playing around at his desk. I don't exactly know what you're doing, but
I'm not playing.
I knew you were going to be mad with that language. You just were moving a lot of stuff around. Listen, every podcast I do, the producer is moving a lot at the desk. We have the same thing on GWF. There's a lot of moving, a lot of motions. I get it. I move a lot too in the studio.
You bring fidgety men into your life.
I know. Well, I'm fidgety too because of my OCD. Like, if you watch me, I'm like adjusting the mic stand 15,000 times per episode here. It's just like it's very twitchy. It just gets me agitated on here.
So you are going to be able to hear me throughout,
but the listeners can't.
The listeners cannot.
Okay, but obviously when you get on the mic, they can hear you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So as usual,
there was one part last week where my mic like it was muted in here, but you could hear me, so it was none the wiser. So I'm being careful about that this week.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. So obviously Trump's president, so we have a lot to go over. That's just rule of thumb. When Trump is president, Without a Country episodes are longer. So again, Mike, you did vote for this. That's what upsets Mike most about it, is that the Trump vote made Without a Country longer. I think that's the main problem.
Well, no, I mean, look, I think it makes Without a Country more interesting, and that's my job as a producer. So, you know, here we are.
Your vote for Trump was really supporting the show.
I'll do whatever it takes, Corinne.
You know what? Thank you so much. Yeah, and like my statement, it's not like, it's not like Mike paid me to say the statement that I said at the top of the show. I really do mean that because I did. You can see I have my receipt, as the annoying people online will say. My receipt is online. There's someone just, said on Threads, like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I joined the Democratic Party. And I was curious to see what people would be saying in the comments. It actually didn't seem too hateful, but overall Threads isn't like super, super hateful yet. And I just was like, we got to say welcome. That's the only approach. Welcome. Happy to have you. Happy to have your vote. Happy to have your contributions. We got to go. All right. So, and also I just want to say, I love that Free Vices song. It just like, when it starts playing, it just like puts me in such a good mood, even though we're about to talk about some pretty horrendous things. Like, just the energy is so good. So make sure to check them out on Spotify and support them on Instagram. And if they're playing a concert near you, go see that concert. I don't know if they're on tour, but I want to shout them out every now and again. All right, so first order of business, pageant to the people, my comedic style town hall with actual elected officials, the mayor of Tucson and two Tucson City Council members, happens on Saturday, February 21st, 6 p.m. at Club Congress in Tucson, which is part of Pima County. Apparently it wasn't just me who was confused about Pima County. There was a lot of people in Arizona who were also like, I don't know where Pima County is. So maybe I'll talk to the Pima County Democratic Party about the branding issue. That being said, when I say Pima County, I mean the Tucson area. And I know a lot of people are in Phoenix. It's about an hour and 45 minutes. I've checked multiple times in different times of day, and it always says an hour 45. So that's on Google Maps. So that seems like a real amount of time. If it is a Saturday, so if you don't work on the weekends and you want to take a little road trip with some friends, you can, leave in the afternoon and be home at a reasonable time. It's not so late that you wouldn't be able to drive back that night, as long as, of course, you are not drinking too much. And so we would love to have you. I know people have driven way longer than that to see comedy shows. I know maybe less of a motivation to come and see something political, but I think it will be a really unique experience. And just like it, after a comedy show, I'll be there. I'll stick around. I can, it's not about GWF or anything like that, but I can sign Without a Country merch. I can sign your GWF book. I can take a picture with you. Anything that will get you there within reason, I am happy to do. That is the point of having people in the public eye host things like this. And like I said, we're going to be asking real questions. And I think, some people might question, like, why would I want to be like going to something about municipal politics while ICE and federal agents are taking over the United States? And I'm like, well, that's exactly the time. I mean, Minneapolis mayor is under a lot of fire right now. And so, we're going to have the mayor of Tucson there. And in Pima, ICE is in Pima County, Arizona right now. There was a story like yesterday. I believe the story about the woman who got part of her hand blown off, that happened in Pima County. That's the story, if I'm not mistaken. There have been so many horrific stories, but I think that's the one that I traced back to that, because I was like in the GWF studio yesterday, and I was like, Pima County, what? I'm going to be there in a couple, like literally never heard of Pima County ever until late last year. And now not only am I going there, not only am I hosting the first of, hopefully many events, that is going to launch there, now ICE is there blowing people's hands off there. So all eyes on Pima County, guys. And we will have the Tucson mayor there. We can talk to her face to face and say, like, what is your plan? What is your plan for tackling this? And I know you think, like, city council members, not a huge role. First of all, city council is a huge role. City council are, think of it as like what Congress is to the president, city council is to the mayor, right? And now we have two levels when it comes to federal. So you have Congress and you have Senate. It's really just city council when it comes to a mayor, but like that is, so city council is is the checks and balances for the mayor, just as the Congress and Senate are often our checks and balances for the president. And similarly to the president, how the president does have veto power in some situations, mayor also has veto power in some situations. So again, really comparable. And even in New York City today, there was a story about how it is now city council's duty to undo some policies that Eric Adams put into place about, what kind of role ICE can have in New York City. So this stuff is all connected. And again, this is where, the future federal politicians are starting, are growing, are making the choice to be good or evil. This is all happening in municipal politics. And Pima County also has a huge Latino demographic. So I think a really important place to be to speak up when ICE is attacking our nation. It is a lot of brown people are under attack. That is the, I would say, the main group of people that are under attack right now. Anyone who looks just kind of brown, they're going for. And anyone who disrupts that, they're also going for. So again, just all the more reason to head out to the event in Tucson on February 21st. Again, it is a benefit, so the tickets are like a touch higher than a comedy show, but at a comedy show, you have a 2-drink minimum. There's no drink minimum here, so at the end of the day, the tab for this will be like equal or even a little bit less to if you bought a comedy show ticket and 2 drinks. Probably about exactly the same, I would say. And it all goes to benefit the Pima County Democratic Party. And full transparency, a lot of people are under the impression that political donations are tax deductible. That's a talking point I hear a lot. They are not. Political donations are not tax deductible. Any politician telling you that they are, or any political organization telling you that they are, is either lying to you purposefully or simply misinformed. Either, I would say, is a problem in the realm of politics. So that's that. And I put the poster up. I had to take it down real quick. There was definitely a typo on it that I didn't notice. I submitted everything correctly, please know. But I also, should have looked it over 57 times, apparently. So that is that. And get your tickets. I think it seats 200. And once we're sold out, I think we're sold out because I don't know that we can get the mayor to stay for 2 shows. And there's a whole press release, but basically we're going to do the town hall. I'll ask questions. You guys will have the opportunity to ask questions. Again, I don't agree with pay to play. So if you absolutely can't afford to get in the room, you can send me a question that you want answered. I don't know if we're going to film the whole thing. I don't know if the whole thing will be released or if it'll just be clips, what kind of the, thing is there. We're feeling it out. Again, Tucson, you kind of are you're the testing ground for this. You're the make or break for pageant to the people. And then, of course, the city council members and the mayor will be sharing a talent with us because it's fun. I don't know. We had to make it fun. I was like, what will make people come? And I was like, what if we make the mayor sing a song or something? I don't know what her talent is yet. She hasn't told me. I think one of the city council members, if she agrees to do it, is a roller derby member and is going to show us her roller derby skills, which is fucking awesome. So that's what we're doing. We're raising money. And also, again, as I said, if you're not registered to vote, if you have a friend who isn't registered to vote, we're going to register them to vote. And for any party, literally, they can do it for any party. And secondly, if you are interested in running for local office, the Pima County Democratic Party is there to support you. I think this is something that a lot of people are unclear about. If you are running for office, you don't have to be in it alone. If you're doing something like I do that the establishment is going to be pissed about, like running for mayor, then they're not going to support you. But if you are someone who's doing something like assembly person, city council, that kind of thing, the local Democratic board will most likely support you if they think you're a promising candidate. So especially young people, loud people, people who are kind of camera ready, PR trained, that kind of person, they love that. So come on down and we'll get you started. Michael, you had your hand raised. Can't hear you.
I just want to know if that one that I had on the screen was the correct or incorrect.
No, that's that. That's a holder one that the Pima County Democratic Party made. I could text you the right one because he just corrected the errors on it today. Wait one second. It's really cute. I love it so much. So excited about it. But yeah, so it is, if you are in the area, it's city council members Paul Cunningham and Miranda Schubert, and then the mayor of Tucson, her name is Regina Romero. And there's going to be stand-up at the top, not by me, but by Matt Zemak, I believe his last name is spelled. But I haven't met him yet, but I did watch tapes from a bunch of local comedians, and I handpicked him. I just thought he was a great fit for the show as far as his humor and his vibe, and I'm excited to put together a really great show. It's a lot of bang for your buck, all right? I will say that. I try to bring it to you. And then kind of on the same topic of local government, I ran into my friend Tomas Delgado, shout out. He does a lot of great, he's a comedian as well. He's been on GWF. He actually met AOC before she was AOC when she was running, and he told me about her because she did at the time listen to GWF, and I think he just really saw something in her. Obviously, he was spot on. She's now one of the most famous politicians of all time. And so that's really cool. And yeah, he's just been doing so much. If you follow him online, he does a lot of like historic things about New York. He's very involved. He kind of ran like a comedic mayoral forum that I was a part of with Zoran Mamdani. And I think that was in Brooklyn, I want to say, and a couple other city people and a couple other comedians, and it was a really fun time. But he's always like politically involved. And I did a comedy show with him. We were just on like a showcase show this past weekend or a weekend ago, and he was like, "Oh, I think I'm gonna sign up to possibly be on my community board. Have you done that?" And obviously I'm aware of community board. It's one of those things where a lot of times people on community boards are people who have too much free time and a lust for power but don't actually have any power in their real life, and then they're like, I'll join the community board. And that's on me for thinking that. And like, while that may be true, we want community board members to actually be people who are really, and I'm not saying they don't care, but I'm saying like sometimes it's just someone with too much free time who desperately wants power. And that's not necessarily who you want on your community board. You want people who are going to like affect real change, who people are going to listen to. And so he is like, I think I'm going to apply to be a community board member, because you still have to apply. It's not like automatically you're on. But I went and I found the application, and I think I'm going to do it for my community board, which would be Community Board 3 in New York City, downtown. But wherever you are, the deadline for New York, I believe, is like late February. So I just wanted to point it out because, most likely the community board in your area might have a similar deadline. So if you're interested in, just getting more involved or getting more involved in local government, I think basically it would be like a once a month commitment if it's the same structure as New York City. Because that's what I was concerned about, that I wouldn't be able to meet, at the times that they're meeting, because a lot of times my schedule is the complete opposite of regular people because I'm working at night. But I think it will be possible. And, even so, it should be no problem for me if I need to not do shows, that every month on the night of the community board meeting. I think that's something that I'm willing to give up to be more of a part of my community. And as the Manhattan, borough president said in his introduction letter on the community board application that I was reading last night, community board is the first level of local government. So if you're just kind of interested, you want to meet some people, shake some hands, possibly if you're interested in doing something bigger, like running for city council in the future, this would be a great thing to do. Get a little bit involved, but you're not making a huge commitment. And it is like step one, especially if you want to run for local government and you don't have like a platform already established. I think it would be like pretty much nearly impossible to get funding for a campaign if you don't have like an outside platform and you don't know people in your area. And so I just wanted to point that out to people if you're thinking of getting involved, but don't want to like get too involved, don't want to risk a lot of money, a lot of time, that kind of thing. All right. Also, obviously, a lot of protests happening about ICE nationwide. I went along with Christina. We went together just because I do, she was going anyway, I was going anyway. And I was like, let's make sure that we are marching together, because I really don't think that we should be showing up for these things alone, just out of safety. Like, you need someone, or at least drop a pin, like, so a friend knows you're there if they're unable to come with you. Just someone needs to have tabs that you were there, and if you don't come back, someone needs to know that you're missing, and we need to look for you. That goes for anyone. That goes for people showing up for any kind of immigration appointments. Please, if you have a friend, a relative, a neighbor heading to an immigration appointment, you're going to want to make sure to get, I believe it's called their alien ID number if they are, undocumented. I think this is the thing. This is all stuff I learned from Christina's training, but that's what you need to know. And also, if someone is being detained, after their immigration meeting, most times it happens, like in New York, it's happening after. So they go in for the meeting, and then when they're leaving, going down the hallway or going to their car, that's a lot of times when they're being detained. You can't physically fight ICE at that time, because then you are interfering with them. But just make sure you have the name and the identification number of the person, and that's how you would be able to find them at the detention center. Again, this is information that we all just really need to know. And so, yeah, we were marching against ICE. And listen, this is not really the time to sit down and criticize the left a ton. But this march, first of all, I thought it was going to be a lot more abrasive. I wanted it to be more. I had my boyfriend's number written on my arm. I had my brother's phone number written on my arm if I needed to make a call from jail. Like, I was ready to go. I had running shoes. I didn't have anything on me. Like, I was wearing all black, which is what you're supposed to wear when you're, protesting. You don't want to be standing out too much. Like, I just was so ready to go. And it was like classic it was like New York City 1970s, hippy dippy singing Kumbaya in Union Square, a bunch of religious leaders getting up. It's like, first of all, why did we have 18 religious leaders? If you need to think about that you're a Christian or a Buddhist to know that what is happening in the streets in America is not okay, I question you as a human. If you need the backing of Buddha or God to look at people getting executed in the streets and saying this isn't right, you are lost. Jesus can't save you now. And so it was just so much mix of like religion and politics, which I just absolutely hate. And I know religious leaders often come out to things like that. And I'm not saying like, yeah, come out. I love it. I love it when religious leaders come out. But it just seemed like this weird like advertisement for like 5 religions that you can choose from. And speakers kept getting up, and everyone has like their own little tiny agenda, which is when I was running for mayor. Like, I remember being at the trans rights protest at Stonewall, and my team was like, do you want me to get you to speak? And I'm like, no, because I'm not trans, and this is just not the time for my voice to be heard. Literally, the only reason that I would be up there is being like, look, this candidate for mayor is up there, and she's supporting trans people. Like, it was just so, to me, showy, and I know that's the kind of behavior that you have to exhibit. And I know people will be like, well, it shows that politicians are there for us. And I go, does it? Or does it show that politicians want to get your vote? I don't know. The whole thing was just like, and it was like politician after politician, leader of this group, and they would all say like, this is what our group does. Make sure to join our group. And I'm like, we are all here for one reason. The reason that we are here is because ICE is terrorizing the United States. We are here in support of Minneapolis and in support to make sure this doesn't happen to New York City. That's it. It is such a clear one message. That particular march, I think it was about stopping funding to places that were funding ICE, like Home Depot, Amazon, Whole Foods, that list that we've been talking about a lot, but Target, but they just kept getting off topic. And then there's people with trans rights flags, and there's people with Gaza flags, and like all these things are important, but it's like, this is what we need to learn from Republicans. They're really good at being like, this is one message. Like, honestly, like for the 2020, what was it? For the last election, they were like, we hate immigrants. Let's get them out. Like, and that was the one message. And that's why this is happening right now, because they have the ability to stay on message. So I was just like, and then it was turning into the nurses, are on strike in New York. Again, important cause, but it's like, when we can't focus on this one thing, we are all here. We're trying to focus on one thing right now, and we absolutely couldn't do it. And it was very frustrating. That being said, so many people showed up, and it was really great to see that. And we marched all the way from Union Square to Madison Square Park. And again, these are just criticism I'm sharing with you on the podcast. Obviously, I showed up. I did the whole entire march. I listened to all the speeches. I'm not going to be like, well, I'm not showing up because this doesn't align with exactly how I think it should be done. Obviously, if I want it done how I think it should be done, I should organize my own fucking protest. But it's just like the messaging, like, just please, can we stay on topic? I beg of you. This has been a problem at every single leftist protest that I've been at in the past, I don't know, 10 years. You know, I'm a big protesty gal, and I just feel like, number one, we got to go a little bit harder. It's when we're singing, when we're chanting, I don't know. I just think it has to be a little bit rougher. And then number two, please, for the love of God, stay on topic. And we can't have this leftist notion that's just like, but what about me? But what about my thing? But what about doing things exactly the way I said? It drives me fucking nuts. And this made me laugh because I just like every now and then, not too often because you got to put out the show that you want to put out. But every now and then I'll look at reviews for, stuff. And I looked at reviews for Without a Country. And this one review made me laugh so hard. It was something about like, this neoliberal show or something. And it was someone who's like very far left, I guess further left than me, saying like, Corinne needs to understand that like leftists aren't liberals, which number one, I understand. But there's just too much terminology. Right now, I'm working with two teams. Are you on the left team or the right team? More than that, people are not going to be able to follow. And if you're more further left, great. And if you're a little bit, left of center, great. If you're right of center, also welcome. Please come hear what we're having to say over here. And it reminded me actually of the current season of Traitors. My friend got me into Traitors, the reality TV show. And on a recent episode, so this is a spoiler if you're not caught up with season 4, so skip ahead. But on the most recent episode, they were all attacking Michael Rappaport because at the round table where they decide which person they're going to banish from the house, Michael Rappaport said something to Colton, who is the former football player who was closeted for a long time and now is out as a gay man. And Michael says to Colton, who has been talking about how he was in the closet for a long time ad nauseum, and he was like, well, Colton is also like really problematic in the house, being very loud, very annoying to everyone, accusing everyone else of being traitors. And so Michael says to Colton, because, Colton was attacking Michael and everything. And Michael was like, well, Colton, if there's anyone in this house who could keep a secret, I would think it would be you. And this season is like very, like, they're so excessively liberal that they're annoying me even. It's just like, I can't really explain it, but just like look at the cast season 4 compared to season 3 is just like, they're just like, it's not good branding for liberals or leftists or whatever the side that's not MAGA, okay? And of course, everyone at the table with, their stick and poke tattoos and their asymmetrical haircuts and white people with dreads or whatever is going on. Of course, when Michael says that, everyone's like gasping, like, oh, how could you say that? It's like, first of all, how could you say back to Colton what he's been saying to give himself publicity for the whole time? It's so funny because liberals love to say all these things about themselves when it gets some publicity, but then when it's turned around on them, they're like, no, how could you even say this thing that I've been outwardly saying about myself? So first of all, that was crazy. Everyone's gasping. And then of course, everyone gets indignant and they're like, do you think that it's easy? Do you think that was his choice to be in the closet for 17 years or however long he was in the closet? Do you think that was his choice? And it was so dramatic. And then of course, everyone got off topic. Everyone just hated Michael because he said something that they interpreted to be homophobic, even though it was not homophobic. It was literally just true. It was just true. Whether or not it's comfortable for you to be in the closet. He didn't say, oh, I'm sure it was a blast for you being in the closet. He said that being in the closet part of being in the closet is that you have to keep a secret. Please call in the show right fucking now if you can dispute that. If staying in the closet does not involve keeping a secret, I will wait. Because and I was like, listen, Michael Rappaport acknowledges that Michael Rappaport is annoying, right? And it's so funny because on Traitors, I don't even find him that annoying, because if you guys knew Michael Rappaport in real life as I do, on Traitors season 4, he was holding it in, okay? That wasn't even full level. If you want full level Michael Rappaport, listen to his podcast. That's Michael Rappaport at a 10. Michael Rappaport season 4 of Traitors, that's about a 5, you know? So first of all, that was that. And it just, I thought it was important to bring up on this show because it was yet another instance of liberals getting performatively offended about something that they interpret as being homophobic, misogynistic, xenophobic, racist, and getting completely off the fucking topic. And then, of course, they banish Michael Rappaport, and of course, he's not a traitor because they got off the fucking topic, okay? And it was so annoying, and so my point is, let's not get off the topic. Let's not get performatively offended for things that, even though they're not spoken in the right language, we understand the essence of what the person is trying to communicate. Stop, because when you're performatively offended, you're just doing it to tell everyone what a great person you are and that you would never speak like that and you were raised better than that and you're more educated and you have a monthly donation to the ACLU, blah, blah, blah. Me too. I also have a monthly donation to the ACLU. We're so great. Let's put a crown on our heads. All right. And then lastly, it brings me back to, in a way, Zoran Mamdani, because I think this what was off-putting about his campaign was not him. It was people who acted like that, who were, voting for him. And I just want to point out, and this is just something that I think Zoran's doing a great job. I know people were rating on him on how he handled his first winter storm. There were a number of people who died in New York City. That's going to happen. While Zoran Mamdani is mayor, people will die in New York City. With anyone as mayor, people would have died in New York City. I think he did a great job of warning everyone that the storm was coming. He was out there. He was helping people shovel. Whatever. Yeah. Is helping people shovel as the mayor a photo op? Of course it is. But as I've talked about many times, I think the main role of the mayor of New York City is being the cheerleader for the city, getting out there, showing people that someone is working for you, and then you get one of your other 17,000 employees to actually push the policy through, whatever it is. You are the face of New York City. That is the job. That's why it works for someone who is media trained like Zoran Mamdani. Again, the DSA had been planning this for a long time. They chose Zoran Mamdani specifically. They know what they were doing. They made a great choice. Feather in their cap. I think it's great. But what's happening now, if you notice, not on his mayor account, but on his Zoran Mamdani account, he has already, if he's not even 30 days into the job, he's already endorsed 2, if not more, DSA candidates. And we knew this was going to happen, or at least I knew this was going to happen, right? We talked about this before. Zoran Mamdani would get elected with the support of the DSA, and then he will basically have to do kind of whatever the DSA says to stay in their good graces and to get in the endorsement for his second term, which I'm sure he wants to get as mayor. Right now, the plan, it was always clear what Zoran Mamdani's campaign was going to do, and that's that they were going to continue campaigning for the 4 years of his first term. And that's what you see right now. So people go, I saw people commenting kind of like, oh, the campaign's over. What are you doing? No, that's where you're making the mistake. The campaign is not over until, he gets to the highest ranking of politics that he's interested in getting. So, and I think it's a good strategy, actually. We'll see if people tire of him, because to campaign for, the term plus the additional year means 5 straight years of campaigning minimum. So to do that, you do run the risk of people tiring of you. But right now, he's still very much in the people's good graces. But I do think it's odd, Number one, I think it's odd that not even 30 days into your campaign, you're hard endorsing 2 candidates. You're taking time out of your day to make videos with them. It's like, okay, well, we're paying for you now. We're paying for your job now. And it's just so we're obviously the DSA is trying to infiltrate the Democratic Party from the inside, which goes back to the review on iTunes. And it's like, okay, well, you don't want to be associated with the Democratic Party, but right now you are, because, you know, you're running. I see that you're infiltrating the Democratic Party from the inside. And, you know, I know that the socialists or the Democratic Socialists or whatever are trying to break out into a third party, but to make themselves strong enough to do that, right now they have to run on the Democratic line on ballots. So I see the strategy, but to say you don't want to be associated with the Democratic Party right now, unless you're doing some like super alt left thing and you're not voting for Democratic candidates, well, on the way there, even though we understand the main goal of your plan, like right now you are part of the Democratic Party. Even though, even if you don't like it, even if you're trying to infiltrate them from the inside, like that's what's happening. And so I just want to put a pin in this hyper endorsement of DSA candidates, because I wonder, it's like, what is his full relationship with these people? If he didn't think someone was a good candidate and the DSA said you got to endorse them, like, is he just doing it? Like, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying put a pin in it, because it is a question mark for me. I don't know if I love it, but just pointing it out. Again, not coming for him. It's been fucking 28 days. I'm happy with the service. All right. And then, of course, the Melania movie comes out this Friday, January 30th. I checked. It is playing in the movie theater near me. I really, really, really want to see it, but I will not give my money to that. So if anyone sees it, please send me your thoughts, withoutacountrypodcast@gmail.com. I'm going to see if there's a way I can pay. It's hard because my theater does actual numbered seats. It's not general admission. It's the one where, like, it's like a concert seating where it says, like, you see your ticket is for 2A, you got to sit in 2A. I could do something like sit in the front row where no one sits, although that would be like psychotic. But I want to see the movie, but I certainly don't want to give money to them. And I'm also like kind of worried, especially living downtown, that someone will come into the movie theater and like shoot it up. Maybe I have to go to like the Upper East Side or Upper West Side or someplace that's like a little bit more MAGA, and maybe it would be like a little safer to go there. But I really, it's like I want to see the Melania movie because I want to make fun of it here with you, but I don't want to die seeing the Melania movie. I don't think that is worth it. In the meantime, I do want to briefly talk about this Melania movie, because Rolling Stone did a piece saying that, you would think that the worst part of working on the Melania movie would be working with the Trump family. But apparently the worst part of the Melania movie for many people involved was that Brett Ratner is still a sex offender, and that was still coming up. This is from Rolling Stone by Tessa Stewart. Vanity Project, chaos behind the scenes of Amazon's Melania Trump doc. Crew members say the worst part of working on the film wasn't promoting the Trump administration. It was having to work alongside accused sex pest Brett Ratner. On Saturday, the same day that an ICE agent shot and killed ICU nurse Alex Pretti, and I did look it up because people are like, Pretti, what is it? It's Pretti. It's PR, like it should sound, if you speak American English, it would be pronounced a little bit different in British English apparently. But it's Alex Pretti, like if the T's make a D sound. It's apparently called a flap T, which makes a D sound. So I learned more about grammar in this, but it's pretty. So ICU, just because if I died and everyone was talking about me and using me as like a political chess piece, I would at least want my name pronounced correctly. I just think it's like the least we can do. So that's why I took the time to look that up. So ICU nurse Alex Pretti, as he was restrained face first on the ground in Minneapolis, a few dozen VIPs, including Apple CEO Tim Cook, Queen Rania of Jordan, and former heavyweight champion Mike Tyson, gathered at the White House for a lavish party complete with custom-made popcorn buckets and gift boxes emblazoned with First Lady Melania Trump's portrait to celebrate the forthcoming documentary, Melania 20 Days to History. So as our streets are getting attacked, as people are getting gunned down in the streets, our president is having a little viewing party for his wife's documentary that no one wants to see. Well, except for me. I do want to see it. The private sneak peek screening was held ahead of the Brett Ratner-directed film's world premiere, slated to take place at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. on Thursday. The fine print along the bottom of an invitation of the premiere reads, "If you are a government employee or a government official, by accepting this invitation, you are confirming that you have received approval from your ethics officer or legal department to attend this event and accept any provided items." What, and I would like to know what even entails being an ethics officer. The boilerplate language refers to the fact that federal officials and government employees are subject to strict rules on accepting gifts, which that's known for everyone, from anyone who does business with the government to avoid conflicts of interest or even the mere appearance of a conflict. And that's standard that applies to municipal politicians as well. The irony is thick. A little over a year ago, Melania sparked a bidding war among Hollywood studios eager to curry favor with the incoming Trump administration. Amazon MGM Studios ended up beating out both Disney, which had just donated $15 million to Trump's future presidential library to settle a dubious defamation claim the soon-to-be president had levied against its subsidiary ABC, and Paramount, which was seeking good relations with the White House ahead of a blockbuster merger that would be subject to FCC approval. A few weeks before Amazon MGM Studios offered an eye-watering $40 million for the film rights, the most the streamer had ever paid for any piece of content, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos dined with President Donald Trump and his wife at Mar-a-Lago. According to the Wall Street Journal, the First Lady kept roughly 70% of the licensing fee, or $28 million herself, and technically there is nothing illegal about that. The First Lady is, for ethical purposes, considered to be a private citizen. And right there, I know a couple of you got agitated several weeks ago when I said First Lady isn't really a job. That right there backs me up, unfortunately. It's kind of just like, I understand that the First Lady has duties in quotes, but that's just like, it's, they're kind of performative. It's like, yes, it's best that she does something for everything to look good, but she's not getting paid for it, and she is considered a private citizen. Right there. And so the conflicts of interest statutes, the regulations for other executive branch employees simply don't apply, says Don Fox, the former acting director of the U.S. Government of Ethics, who worked under President George Bush and Barack Obama. But Fox adds his office would have advised against accepting such a lucrative deal with Amazon, exactly, because it's not a good look. The First Lady is a lot about the look at the start of a new administration because of the extensive business Bezos had before the federal government. It just looks like it's buying access and buying favor, because it is. Amazon Web Services is a giant federal contractor supporting numerous government agencies, including the Department of Defense, and Bezos' aerospace company Blue Origin has NASA contracts worth billions of dollars. A spokesperson for Amazon MGM Studios denied that the studio had any ulterior motives, telling Rolling Stone, "We licensed the film for one reason and one reason only. Wait for it, because we think customers are going to love it." Okay. Amazon's purchase of Melania set off, and it's also weird to call people who are going to watch a movie customers. That's not really, that's not really what you usually call it, the audience. Amazon's purchase of Melania set off a frantic scramble.
Amazon is, you don't pay a subscription for an Amazon service. You pay the subscription for Prime. Yes. You know what I mean? So I think that's why you call them customers.
No, I know, because Amazon, that's what Amazon is concerned about, their customers, but I think it's a bit of a tell that that's how they're calling it. Consumers of art are often not called customers. And I know comedians actually who use language like that. They talk about their audience as customers, and I'm not going to name names, but those are the people who just want your money and don't care so much about the art. Amazon's purchase of Melania set off a frantic scramble to get as much footage as possible of the First Lady in the weeks leading up to the inauguration. It was a chaotic process that involved hiring and coordinating 3 separate production crews working in Florida, Washington, D.C., and New York City. Each had its own heavyweight cinematographer. Jeff Cronenworth, best known for his collaborations with David Fincher, Michael Mann's go-to cameraman, Dante Spinotti, and Barry Peterson, cinematographer, most recently of the infamous Colleen Hoover adaptation, It Ends With Us, each shot portions of the film. And that is so lame because all those people do not need help getting work, and they did not need to do this. People worked really hard, really long hours, highly disorganized, very chaotic. One person who worked on the set said it wasn't easy money. Another added it was very difficult because of the chaos that was around everything. Usually for a documentary, it's like, oh, follow the subject. Well, it's Melania Trump with the First Lady and Secret Service. You can't just do things you usually do. A first-time travel coordinator was brought on to deal with logistics issues that would invariably arise when, for example, members of the crew would board the Trump organization's Boeing 757 to film the First Lady on a flight en route to Mar-a-Lago and end up without a ride home. One person familiar with the production estimated that some 2/3 of the crew members who worked on the film in New York had requested not to have their names formally credited on the documentary. A separate person who will be credited on the film said that after experiencing the first year of Trump's second term, they now wish that they had not put their name on it. Again, welcome to the light, but still. I'm much more alarmed now than I was a year ago, that person said. People who worked on the film said that they had fewer problems working with Melania Trump herself, who was described as friendly and very engaged in the process, than they did with the director, Brett Ratner. She was totally nice, one person said. She was the opposite of Brett Ratner. Melania is the first movie Ratner, who is known for directing the Rush Hour movies and X-Men: The Last Stand, has made since he was publicly accused of sexual harassment and assault by 6 women in 2017. You know, the sexual assaulters will always help each other. Actress Natasha Henstridge told the Los Angeles Times that Ratner forced her to perform oral sex on him when she was 19, while Olivia Munn recalled Ratner masturbating in front of her when she visited the set of one of his films as a young aspiring actress. Ratner denied the accusations and was never charged. More recently, a photograph of a shirtless Ratner with model scout and Epstein associate Jean-Luc Brunel appeared in the newly unclassified Epstein files. On the day the Los Angeles Times investigation into Ratner was published, Epstein sent an email to his personal lawyer that reads, "Brett Ratner now, oi." Through an intermediary, Ratner denied ever meeting Epstein to Rolling Stone. Okay. I feel a little bit uncomfortable with the propaganda element of this, one member of the production team said, but Brett Ratner was the worst part of working on this project. That person said they weren't aware of Ratner's involvement until just days before filming began, and they would not have accepted the job if they'd known. Another confirmed there was more talk about Brett being slimy than there was about Melania. Ratner left a trail of detritus, discarded. Sorry, I gotta look up this word. I feel like lately there's been so much stuff that I haven't been as good on my word lookup and pronunciation, and I don't want to go against that. So detritus. I mean, it means debris. I just want to make sure I'm saying it right. Detritus. Okay.
Detritus.
So it's detritus, which is defined as like dead, particulate organic matter comprising of decomposing plants, animal waste remains. So like, you know, it could be like dog poop, banana peel, orange peel. That's what detritus means. Again, I don't think I've ever heard anyone use that word, but we all learned a new word today. Ratner left a trail of detritus, discarded orange peels, gum wrappers, wherever he went on set. And you can see by even the way that the journalist used it, they just wanted to use the word detritus, and like, good on them. But when you have to explain what detritus is, I mean, okay. Wherever he went on set. He did actually chew a piece of gum and throw it into a coffee cup on my cart, one person said, but didn't acknowledge my existence for even 1 nanosecond. Another recalled a long day during which the crew wasn't...
Wait, what were you rolling your eyes at there?
That he put his chewed gum in someone's coffee cup.
Oh, in someone else's coffee cup?
Yeah.
I thought he was saying, okay.
What? I mean, this is, it's so easy to not be an asshole on a film set as someone who has been a PA on many film sets and worked 18 plus hour days extensively. You're tired, you're in a bad mood. A lot of times you're cold if you're like working craft food services table outside, as I often was, and you can still smile and be kind to people. It's not hard. All right. Another recalled a long day during which the crew wasn't allowed to break for meals and no outside food was allowed to be brought into the space where filming was taking place. Brett unknowingly or maliciously got his own food, went up there, was just eating it and just licking his fingers in grubbiest way possible, either being a dick or having no awareness whatsoever to the fact that everybody else is working and no one's eating, one person recalled. Again, this isn't like, this is not Brett Ratner specific. For anyone who's worked on a film set, there's always someone with this behavior. Again, not okay. And if I had, this was my first film back after being accused of masturbating in front of a young Olivia Munn, maybe I wouldn't. If this was my first film back after being accused of forcing someone to give me a blowjob, maybe I'd not be licking my fingers and eating chicken wings while no one else is eating. But okay. A third person involved in the production defended Ratner and praised his contributions. He's an intuitive, incredible, emotional, intelligent director, and you will see that on the screen. This person said, "It's not just a documentary, it's a film. He's a filmmaker that can go long shots, big shots." What are they just going to name all the shots? Medium shots, panning shots. What an idiot. He sees everything from a different point of view than a documentarian. Okay. It's not clear how Trump and Ratner initially connected, but the director has become close with the president and his wife. He is reportedly living in a villa at Mar-a-Lago and is said to have continued the film The First Lady after production of the documentary concluded. He's continued to film Melania.
Hey, we're both notorious sex pests.
Yeah, I know.
Let's make some money on a doc.
I know, it is. It's so transparent. A review of his political contributions indicates Ratner never donated to any of Trump's 3 presidential campaigns. Well, his donation, I think, was directing this. To the contrary, records show multiple contributions to Hillary Clinton during the 2016 race, as well as gifts to Kamala Harris when she was still a California senator. Despite the unfettered access to the First Lady, described as extraordinary by people involved, and the exorbitant sums of money that went into the film, viewers shouldn't expect huge revelations about Trump's wife, who has largely remained a cipher even after decades in the spotlight. Some people are boring, one crew member said. Some people also never let their guard down. And I think this little piece about how he did contribute to Hillary Clinton and even Kamala and then ended up doing this is like, well, this is very common. Obviously he is now known as a sex offender. So pretty much the entirety of the left has turned on him. But who always takes people back after sex offenses? There's two groups of people who always take people back. One is Republicans, and 2 would be stand-up comedians. So I gotta point the finger inward. Not me particularly, but if you have sex offended, the one job you still can have is frickin' Republican politician or stand-up comedian. And so, I'm sure Brett Ratner, even though he's
or lawyer. According to the state of Florida.
Oh, boy. And I'm sure, no matter what I have to say about Brett Ratner, I'm sure he genuinely does love making movies. And so if you haven't made a movie since 2017, even if you, on paper, are a Democrat, if President Trump is the only one who will take you back, and the Trump administration says, hey, you can make this movie, it'll get released because Trump's in office, people will see it, you need fans again. This is why people do that. This is why people end up going to the right, because in many ways they are much more forgiving than the, love is love party. Despite the so Amazon has declined to share the film with press ahead of its release on Friday, but having spent $40 million to acquire the rights to the movie, the streamer is reportedly now spending an additional $35 million to promote it, according to Puck News, with a campaign that includes TV spots airing during NFL broadcasts and a takeover of the Las Vegas sphere. Whether or not the studio's investment will pay off in ways other than goodwill from the Trump administration remains to be seen. Yes, Michael.
Another bonus from this, Brett Ratner will be returning to direct Rush Hour 4 at Paramount after Trump requested that the series make a return.
Wow. I didn't know we could put in requests like that.
This is full on dictator shit, dude.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, and then, this, and then pile this on with the, changes to TikTok where your stuff won't get seen. There's many reports of likes and views being taken away from videos that have already received those likes and views if they are anti-ICE, if they are, anti, Trump. This is fully dictator at this point. This is North Korea. Or heading there. So forecasts for how the film will perform vary. Boxoffice.com has predicted Melania could take in as little as $1 million in its opening weekend, while National Research Group's estimate projects around $5 million. But there are a few recent examples of films that cater to conservative audiences outperforming expectations. Dennis Quaid's presidential biopic Reagan was panned by critics but took in $30 million in 2024. That's a little different because people still like Ronald Reagan, and Dennis Quaid is still like a name that we at least think of when we think actor. And the similarly pilloried Daily Wire production film Am I Racist brought in $12 million, making it the highest grossing documentary that year. Daily Wire documentaries people tend to be interested in. Unfortunately, if it does flop, one member of the Melania production team said, I would really feel great about it. God, that was entertaining. All right. I just wanted to entertain us a little bit until things get really dark on this episode. And shout out to everyone who is over on the Patreon. All hail to the only good dictator that there is, and that's Christopher Fungi. Thank you for supporting our show, Great Dictator. We really appreciate it. Thank you to all my capitalist pigs, all my cuties. If you are interested in helping to fund this show and, make things work and pay people what they deserve to be paid. I mean, we're doing that anyway, but it just helps out. It's patreon.com/withoutacountry, and you get an additional bonus news story every single week. And you get the title of Dictator, Capitalist Pig, or Cutie, of course. All right, the enemy of the state this week. I don't have an article, for this one. This is just, I was going through all the news coverage of Alex Pretti, and I came across Caleb Bond from Sky News Australia. I have watched Sky News Australia videos before. I mean, I don't need Australians to tell me that this is like Australia's right-wing news source, or at least one of them. But I just wanted to bring it, number one, because this Caleb Bond guy was really bothering me with his Alex Pretti coverage. It's like we have enough people spreading misinformation about American news stories and causing problems and polarization in the country. We don't also need a chubby little Australian troll named Caleb Bond doing it too. And I call him chubby
of the state.
And I call him a chubby little troll because I was going through the types of articles that he likes. And first of all, it's like he's similar to people who like Fox News. He's using like terminology that was cool like 10 years ago, calling people woke, saying things are canceled, calling people blue-haired liberals. And then also, saying, models should be skinny, which would not even bother me as much if you yourself weren't a chubby little troll. Look at this guy. This guy. He also looks just like someone who I know in real life and really don't like, who is married and slides into my DMs all the time. And even if he was single, I am so out of his league on every single level. And then secondly, you're married and you're DMing me in flirty shit and like nothing makes my skin crawl more. You're disgusting. But he was just pissing me off so much. I'm sure you guys know him. I know there's Australian listeners. I know you guys, have to listen to American news because it does affect what other countries are doing. But I just like, we have enough misinformation here. Why do we also need the people who are conservative in Australia now also saying that Alex Pretti deserved to die? Like, what are we even doing? Guys, Google this guy, leave a rude comment on his Instagram, whatever you want. This guy sucks. If anyone has met him in Australia and has some little piece of embarrassing tea about him, please send it to withoutacountrypodcast@gmail.com. This guy is just disgusting. Disgusting, sharing misinformation. Why do you even bother existing? All right, moving on to this is a dual Cuties Corner and Wacko mailbag. sent in from, I think I can say her name, Alicia, or I guess it could be Alicia. Hi, Corinne. I am a longtime GWF and WAC listener and animal lover like yourself, so I wanted to bring this heartbreaking issue to your attention. In my hometown of Niagara Falls, Canada, there is an amusement park called Marineland that is similar to SeaWorld. Marineland opened in the 1980s and recently closed its doors to guests in 2024. It was the site of countless protests over the last 10-ish years for animal rights due to poor conditions for whales, dolphins, seals, belugas, bears, and deer. 19 belugas have died at Marineland since 2019 due to these poor conditions. That's a lot of beluga deaths. 30 belugas and 4 dolphins remain at Marineland, who will all be euthanized if they are not accepted into facilities in the United States. And not, no pun intended, but I do feel like we have bigger fish to fry right now as our, people are getting gunned down in the streets. But, I do think that all living creatures are equal. So thank you for pointing this out. And, if there's anyone who can, if you have a tank big enough, guys, if you have a big enough swimming pool for a beluga, you let me know. They were recently rejected from a transfer to China. Marineland, well, I wouldn't trust them in China. China's animal rights are not great. Do you guys know? This is like as far as like products being cruelty free. This is why a lot of things don't have like the leaping bunny seal of approval. So something can be cruelty free, like a makeup product or a hair product in America. But China not only allows animal testing on makeup products, they require animal testing. So a lot of times, you can't get the leaping bunny, which is like the golden standard in cruelty-free. You can't get the leaping bunny seal of approval on your makeup or hair products if you sell your products in China, because China requires animal testing. So I wouldn't feel comfortable, is what I'm saying, with those belugas in China. Marineland is out of money and transfer is the only option. Unfortunately, we know that a transfer might be so stressful to them that they might not even survive, even if they are accepted. This is truly, shorter going from Canada to America than Canada to China. Even if they are accepted, this is truly devastating news, and I thought you would be interested to spread the word. So there's a bunch of news articles about that. You can just Google it. I don't think we have the time to go over that, but I did want to bring that to people's attention. If you work in animal rights, if you have any way that you can amplify this, take it from here and amplify it even more, please do so. Thank you so much for writing in. That is extremely sad, but a lot of things we're going to go over today are extremely sad. So now we're going to go into the main story, which is, of course, the execution of Alex Pretti. And there's a couple articles. So the thing that has been breaking in the past 24 hours or so is that Alex Pretti had already had an altercation with ICE, right? So there's coverage on this from mainstream and then from a little bit more far left news sources that I follow mostly on Instagram. But there are multiple sources. So to me, this is passing my at least 2 sources test. CNN said something yesterday. Alex Pretti broke a rib in confrontation with federal agents a week before death, sources say. Federal immigration officers have been collecting personal information about protesters and agitators in Minneapolis, sources told CNN, and had documented details about Alex Pretti before he was shot to death on Saturday. It is unclear how Pretti first came to the attention of federal authorities, but sources told CNN that about a week before his death, he suffered a broken rib when a group of federal officers attacked him while he was protesting their attempt to detain other individuals. And there is video footage of this as well. Michael, if you want to cue that up, it's on Yashar Ali's Instagram. I think it's probably the last thing he posted, and if not, like within the past 2 hours. He posts a lot, though. So in a statement, the Department of Homeland Security said that DHS law enforcement has no record of this incident. A memo sent earlier this month to agents temporarily assigned to the city asked them to capture all images, license plates, identifications, and general information on hotels, agitators, protesters, etc., so we can capture it all in one consolidated form, according to correspondence reviewed by CNN. And this checks out because this is not the first time I'm hearing about this. I also saw, and again, I watched a lot of ICE videos this week, but I saw a video of an ICE agent telling a pedestrian that they are keeping a list of protesters and they needed her identification for that. So basically, they're making a list of us, but also we're making a list of them. I had talked on Threads that, if we haven't already, we need to start making a list of ICE agents as they are doxxed or as we find out their identities. And thankfully, someone's already done that. There is an ICE Wikipedia that has all the information for everyone who has been outed as an ICE agent. So if you have any information, if you know anyone who works for ICE, that's the time. We're going to need that for Nuremberg Trials Part 2, everybody. Pretti's previous encounter is another reflection of the aggressive approach federal agents are taking with observers and protesters, a philosophy underscored by the request for agents to collect information about protesters whose activities are broadly protected by the First Amendment, which is the number one thing that I love about the USA. So when that goes away, then really why, we got to stay here and fight for our country so that these people don't take it over. But, not a lot of bonuses to living here otherwise. Also best place to be famous. That's the one thing, like as someone in the entertainment business, you can say whatever you want about other countries. Fame in other countries, any famous person will agree, fame means nothing if you're not famous in America. DHS, and a lot of people don't like that, but, talk to all my Canadian comedian friends. All my friends who are famous in Canada, aka not famous. Sorry, I know Canada, you're gonna come for me. You didn't like that, but take it up with Ryan Long. DHS has repeatedly warned of threats against federal law enforcement officers during immigration enforcement operations and criticized protesters who they argue are impeding those operations. On Tuesday, the department also publicized an online tip form to share information about people allegedly harassing ICE officers. When our law enforcement encounter a violent agitator who is breaking the law, obstructing law enforcement, or assaulting them, our law enforcement makes records or advance prosecution. This is not groundbreaking, it is standard protocol, said DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin in a statement. Well, what is not standard protocol is making up what the law is, which is what ICE is doing now. So people who are not breaking the law, who are protesting, as is covered by the First Amendment, they are still getting included on this list because they want a list of who is against them, right? This is a full-on just list of my enemies by Donald Trump. The earlier incident started when he stopped his car after observing ICE agents chasing what he described as a family on foot and began shouting and blowing his whistle, according to a source who asked not to be named, out of fear of retribution. Guys, we need to start taking a shot or, eating a carrot if you're still doing dry January or if you're sober. Every time we on this show hear the statement or read the statement, this person didn't want to be named for fear of retribution. I feel like I say fear of retribution every single day since Trump took office. It is included in numerous news articles I read every single week. That is not normal. We cannot start thinking that is normal. Fear of retribution. Pretti later told the source that 5 agents tackled him and 1 leaned on his back, an encounter that left him with a broken rib. The agents quickly released him at the scene. That day, he thought he was going to die. Maybe he's a witch because that was a premonition. Pretti was later given medication consistent with treating a broken rib, according to records reviewed by CNN. Earlier this month, a DHS official in Minneapolis sent a memo to Immigration and Customs Enforcement Homeland Security Investigations officers assigned to the state on temporary duty, asking them to use a form to input information on protesters and agitators. The form, titled Intel Collection Non-Arrests, allows agents to fill in personal information of agitators and protesters who they encounter. It's not clear whether other agencies in Minnesota are also using the form. And listen, I didn't say this, but hypothetically, if then you're going out to protest, I don't think they even have I don't think ICE is even using the technology of a good bar in New York City where they're scanning your ID. I mean, maybe we could try, carrying our fake identification around with us when we're I didn't say this. I'm just saying hypothetically, if they're making up lists of us, that might be a good idea. Previously, agents had informally shared information about protesters and agitators with each other, the memo said. And maybe they are scanning it. I don't know. Someone would have to tell me. If you've encountered ICE and been taken in on this list, don't tell me your name or anything. Just tell me if you actually saw them scan your ID, like take it to their car, run it through something like you would if you got pulled over by the cops, or if they literally just took your ID and wrote it down or entered it into a computer. Let me know. Or if you are an ICE agent and you know what you're doing is bad, but you can't get out of it right now, call me and give me the information. Do something good with it. It's so funny, as if an ICE agent would be listening to Without a Country, but, weirder stuff has happened. Pretti's name was known to federal agents, according to a source, though it's unclear whether the new intake form was used to share his information. So basically, what we are, clarifying and making sure of here, which it seems to be true, is that ICE agents in Minneapolis had already had an altercation with Alex Pretti before his execution, and they knew who he was. They were already pissed at him. It's also not clear whether the federal agents who encountered Pretti on Saturday recognized him before they confronted him, eventually wrestling him to the ground, taking a gun from his waistband, and then fatally shooting him. Some Trump officials have spoken publicly about the idea of creating a database of protesters, though it's not clear what ICE has done with the information collected through the form circulated to agents in Minneapolis. So it's not clear what they're doing, but it's clear that it's happening. And again, this is backed by another video I saw where an ICE agent asks a protester for her information. They have a back and forth about it. One thing I'm pushing for right now, we're going to create a database where those people that are arrested for interference, impeding, and assault, we're going to make them famous. Tom Homan, Trump's border czar, told Fox News earlier this month. We're going to put their face on TV. We're going to let their employers in their neighborhoods, in their schools know who these people are. Why? So we can all applaud them and call them heroes? Because that's what's going to happen. Most of the country doesn't agree with what you're doing. On Sunday, a DHS spokeswoman denied the agency was compiling a database of domestic terrorists after a video in Maine showed a federal agent recording the license plate of a woman observing him during an operation and telling her, "We have a nice little database, and now you are considered a domestic terrorist." McLaughlin told CNN about the Maine incident. There is no database of domestic terrorists run by DHS. We do, of course, monitor and investigate and refer all threats, assaults, and obstruction of our offices to the appropriate law enforcement. And reminder, this is from the same group of people who said, well, we're not involved with Project 2025. We don't even know what that is. Obstructing and assaulting law enforcement is a felony and a federal crime. In her statement to CNN on Tuesday, she reiterated that there is no DHS database. Federal officials have made clear that they are investigating anti-ICE activities they allege crossed the line into violence. And this is serious stuff. Like, if you are working with any formal group that is, doing anti-ICE protests or helping escort immigrants to their immigration meetings, you are most likely communicating via Signal, which is what I used during my mayoral campaign. It is that one step, higher communication app that's just like a little bit more secure than texting or DMing on social media. So like, this is serious business. They're using tracking devices. They're using apps to look into shit. They're using Ring doorbells. They are capturing. They are surveying us. Like, this is all happening. Surveilling us, right? That's how you would properly say, yeah, surveilling. On Monday, FBI Director Kash Patel said the agency was investigating Signal group chats used by observers to share information about ICE activities. So right here, even saying like they're already using that, and now they're going to find a way to get their way into that, which is stupid because politicians use Signal too. But they have to get one step. Someone needs to create an app that's even more secure. Although I wouldn't even trust that. Warning on a conservative podcast that people cannot create a scenario that illegally entraps and puts law enforcement in harm's way. On Tuesday, DHS announced it was launching an investigation into a U.S. citizen who attempted to purchase a firearm on 2 separate occasions, allegedly stated that she wanted to protect herself from ICE agents and also to kill ICE agents. And it's so funny because, as usual, that little ending to the CNN article is what I believe InfoWars took out of this entire Alex Pretti execution and made into their full headline story, because they love to grasp at straws and take a little piece of information and make that the main story when there's, again, much more important things to be talking about. But okay. So I think we all pretty much have seen most likely multiple angles of the Alex Pretti execution, if already. So there's nothing really more to say on that matter. There's nothing really even to discuss here. I mean, this is even more crystal clear footage and more crystal clear than the Renee Good murder. Like, there's not there is the videos were isolated into still images. There's a still image of Alex here, I'm doing movements here, but facing the ground, and his head is fully away from an ICE agent. He's falling towards the ground, and the agent has the gun pointed at the back of his head, full execution style. There's no, the NRA even came out and said, we need to look into this. This doesn't seem right. That's not good. That's not good. All right. So multiple angles again. Look at the video yourself. I know sometimes people are like, I can't handle that. It's like, all right, well, I don't know that you gotta be able to handle. You can't handle, people are actually out in the streets getting shot, and you can't handle watching it so that you know the truth. Listen, I know everyone has a different level of things they can handle, but I got to be honest, I don't really respect that take, but okay. I do think it's important. I do think it's important to take this kind of stuff in. I'm not saying sit around and watch videos of people getting executed all day, all long, but when it's happening in your streets, when it's happening to your neighbors, your friends, when it could happen to you, I think you need to know about it. I do think it's important. And I mean, even again, NRA saying we got to look into this. Even Fox, I pulled the Fox News article about this. This is from, yesterday, January 27th. New details to Congress reveal guns used body cam footage in fatal Border Patrol shooting of Minnesota nurse. And it says Alex Pretti was shot nearly a dozen times by 2 federal agents during Operation Metro Surge in Minneapolis. I mean, this is not. So the report compiled by the Border Patrol's Office of Professional Responsibility Investigative Operations Directorate noted 2 federal agents fired at Pretti. One Border Patrol agent fired his CBP-issued Glock 19, and a second officer fired his CBP-issued Glock 47. The report also confirmed there was body-worn camera footage of the shooting, though it is unclear if it will be released to the public. The report noted that several civilians in the area were yelling and blowing whistles. BPAs and CBPOs allegedly made several verbal requests for the civilians to stay on the sidewalks and out of the roadway, but tensions rose at about 9 a.m. when a CBPO was confronted by 2 women blowing whistles. The officer allegedly ordered the women to move out of the roadway, but they did not move. As seen on witness video, the CBPO pushed the women, and one of them ran to Pretti. After attempting to move the woman and Pretti out of the road, the CBPO deployed his pepper spray toward the pair. Officials said Border Patrol agents tried to take Pretti into custody, but he, quote, resisted, and a struggle ensued. Watch the video for yourself. During the struggle, an unidentified Border Patrol agent yelled, "He's got a gun," multiple times, according to the report. And he did. It was not out. It was in his waistband, and he had a permit, and it's a right to carry state. So he's allowed to have it. About 5 seconds later, the 2 federal agents opened fire. After the shooting, a Border Patrol agent confirmed that he had Pretti's gun and subsequently cleared and secured the gun in his vehicle, according to the report. And I think this is what happens when there's not a lot of training. There's, 5 to 7 officers on one person, 8 ICE agents on a person at the same time. There's no communication between them. They have heavy equipment on. Their faces are almost fully covered. Who even knows how well they can see? They're acting fast. They're acting based on feelings, not facts. Oh, well, who does that sound like? Liberals, right? And I'm just making fun of Republicans in that sentiment because they love to say we're so emotional. It's okay, we're not just shooting people willy nilly, but that's what's happening. And so I guess I could possibly believe that after the one agent said he's got a gun, they panicked and just shot. But that's not an excuse. That's not an excuse. And you also like his head is facing toward the ground. He had a phone in his hand. It was very clear. I saw things circulating around line that there are apparently guns that are masked as phones, and I was like, "You guys are playing Mind Olympics now. Am I going to see you in Italy because you are an Olympic level mind athlete at this point?"
I mean, I'm 99% sure that was like trolling. That was just exclusively trolling. And people fell for it.
People were taking it seriously. That's why I'm bringing it up, because I just kind of want to cover anything that might have come into your brain over the past week. But just to clarify, and I mean, did anyone even, I guess, did you even look it up? Is that even something that's actually available for purchase? Like phone, like iPhone that looks like gun. Like, let me look it up. iPhone that looks like gun. Is this available for purchase? So it's called the Ideal Conceal Cell Phone Pistol from gunbroker.com is what comes up first. Okay, so it is. Oh my God, I have to stay.
I'm seeing this one here. It's a new gun folds up like a cell phone. This is AZ Central. This is the image I saw circulating, but people were saying like, "Oh, we're getting to the bottom of it." It was this that he had,
and like it clearly wasn't. I gotta be honest. I don't think most people on the left even really knew this was a thing. Maybe if you're on the far left, you knew if it was a thing. Like maybe Antifa knows it's a thing, but we don't.
No, this is a bit. It's a bit people are doing online.
No.
But this guy had this. This was the gun that he had.
No. I know he didn't. Like he had a regular, traditional looking gun.
He had a SAG, a Sig. What is it? Sig Sauer.
I don't know. No guns, but it was like it was not a gun that looked like an ordinary gun. Like it's like a silver handgun. I saw it in his belt. But I'm saying this gun that they were joking about that looks like a phone. It is an actual gun that exists that you can buy. It's called an IC380 double barreled. .380. I don't even know how. When I'm reading the titles of guns, it's like me going through the Bible. I don't even know how to properly say the numbers, but that's what's happening. So these do exist. It wasn't a made up thing, but it's certainly made up that that's what Alex Pretti had. And so let's see. So after the shooting, a Border Patrol agent confirmed that he had already done the gun, all this stuff. All right, so then that's kind of all it is. But again, just going through it. So even Fox News' account of this is like, we just shot a nurse. That's basically Fox News' account. So, and again, this lines up now into even Donald Trump realizing he has a problem, which we saw over the weekend. We saw, Greg Bovino. Oh, that little yuck. We saw him get fired from his current position and then demoted back to his El Centro, California position that he was originally in. As I said, let's make sure if we ever see Greg Bovino to make every moment of his life a living hell. And it sounds like we're, sending in border czar Tom Homan now, because I know when people are getting shot in the streets and I think, who can help me? I think a 64-year-old man. All right. So this
is that the same dude that George W. Bush appointed?
I don't know. Look into it.
Back in the day, when who was the first head of the DHS?
64 sounds like he would be like I guess that could check out. So wait, who was first head? It looks like it was Thomas J. Ridge that was the first secretary and director of the Office of Homeland Security from 2003 to 2005, post September 11th.
It was another Tom.
Yeah.
With a, similarly boring white guy name.
Yeah, Tom Ridge, not Tom Homan. But, good looking out. What's Tom Ridge doing now? I don't even know. What's he up to? Looks like he's still alive, I think. I think he is still alive. I don't know how old he is. He was born in 1945, so he's pretty old now. Okay.
So he's the perfect age to run for president.
Yeah, he's the perfect. That's who we're doing next. Oh, sorry. Now that I'm 40, I gotta support my back a little bit more. All right, so this is from the New York Times. Nervous allies and Fox News, how Trump realized he had a big problem in Minneapolis. So I don't know that we have to go through this entire article. It's rather lengthy, but this is from today, and it says the crisis in Minneapolis was not dying down. The government's account of the killing on Saturday of Alex Pretti, a U.S. citizen with no criminal record, was unraveling. Stephen Miller, the mastermind of President Trump's hardline immigration policy, had called Mr. Pretti a terrorist and told other administration officials, including Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary, to call him an assassin. But videos clearly contradicted that story. Mr. Pretti was pinned down when immigration agents opened fire and killed him. Protests and palpable sense of outrage were growing across the country. Even the president's allies were alarmed. Many of them wanted to see changes on the ground, and several made a recommendation directly in calls to the president. Send Tom Homan, the White House border czar, to Minneapolis. Early Monday, Brian Kilmeade, the co-host of Fox and Friends, of which Mr. Trump is a loyal viewer, repeated the message 3 times in 2 hours. 20 minutes later, the president announced on social media that he was sending Mr. Homan to Minneapolis, a tacit acknowledgement that he was losing control of a situation that posed one of the most serious political threats of his second administration. And he's losing control because Minneapolis, God bless them, keeps fighting back. Minneapolis is showing up. They are showing up. And as we see, there is risk in showing up. There was an interview that, what's his name did? Not Andy Cohen. The other Andy, who am I thinking of? The one that Kathy Griffin used to co-host New Year's Eve with. Oh my God, the really famous one who comes from the rich family. Kathy.
Anderson Cooper?
Anderson Cooper, yes. That's the name I was going for. So Anderson Cooper did an interview with the woman Stella, who I believe Stella is, had been known as Woman in the Pink Coat previously before her identity was revealed, who was filming. And, in the interview, she kind of says, like, listen, I understand that blowing whistles and shouting ISIS here is not necessarily doing a ton, but she's like, people who are getting detained, who are getting pulled from their homes, like, she's like, I do think it helps that they see us out there and they see their neighbors or their friends or their, fellow, people who live in Minneapolis, their fellow Minnesotans, just like at least out there saying, I see you, I hear you, I acknowledge what's happening. And a lot of people are calling her a hero too for staying there. She's like, I stayed there. She's like, I knew there was a risk. I knew there was a risk of me getting shot for staying there and filming. But she's like, if we don't have accounts of these things, especially in today's world, it's very hard to convince people that things happen if they can't see it with their own eyes. And I think even if you can convince people that things happened, it's a lot more powerful if they are able to see it with their own eyes. Just think about how much more powerful watching a documentary where there are footage where we get to know the people involved is than, reading kind of a like more lifeless account or a more journalistic or, less flowery account is when you're just getting the facts. Like, you really do need to appeal to people's emotions. And I think that's been proven on both the left and the right. And there's just really no way to spin a video of a U.S. citizen, a nurse for veterans getting gunned down in the street execution style. Like, there's just really no way to spin that. And so I think by staying there, even though she was scared, even though she was putting her life on the line, especially after she sees someone get executed right in front of her, how scary that must have been, she stayed. She got the footage. She didn't get her phone stolen from her. And she got it to the appropriate outlets so that it could be distributed widely. And then she did the interview with Anderson Cooper and explained it. And I just think like that is the kind of bravery we need to be seeing right now. But I do want to point out, like, when you do things like that, when you are that close to ICE, you are absolutely putting your life at risk. And I think you deserve to know that. I think you deserve to know. I think we are under, for so long, we've, because of our First Amendment and because the way America is, and certainly, people who are able to protest with white privilege have been able to protest and gotten in police officers' faces, even gotten in SWAT team, members' faces pretty aggressively, and nothing has happened to them. And that all, has changed now. So although I'm completely on the side of I just want you guys to know, when you go out into these streets, you should know when you're putting your life on the line, and don't be tricked that you're not because you are white or because you're protesting or because you're a US citizen. No, you're putting your life on the line. And we need heroes like that right now. We need things. If you see, if you're in your apartment building or if you're at work and you hear something happening on the street, get to that window. But also no, gunshots go through windows, Gregory Bovino, a Border Patrol officer who had been directing on-the-ground operations in Minneapolis and who was known for aggressive tactics, was out. Bovino is pretty good, but he's a pretty out there kind of guy, Mr. Trump told Fox News. Maybe it wasn't good here. And while there is no sign that Mr. Trump is repudiating the attacks used by federal agents in Minnesota or the core tenets of his immigration policies, the moment was a rare example of the president moving to mitigate the harsh optics associated with a crackdown his administration has otherwise celebrated. Mr. Trump has honed a survival tactic over many years, facing criticism in the public eye. He creates diversions to barrel from one news cycle into the next. But in other moments, when he has faced particularly intense and politically damaging public outcry, he has taken stock of news coverage and decided to take a different tack, often temporarily. Mr. Pretty's killing and its aftermath created one of those moments, and Mr. Trump seemed to realize in this case that his message at least had to change. Shortly after he made the announcement about Mr. Holman, Mr. Trump and his press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, softened their tone about the shooting and distanced themselves from the incendiary comments made by Mr. Miller, Mr. Bovino, and Ms. Noem. Mr. Trump also said that he spoke with Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota, whom he had castigated only days before. And as the White House walks back some of its harshest statements, a blame game of sorts has erupted, with Mr. Miller suggesting immigration authorities in Minneapolis may not have been following protocol, or the law or the Constitution. In a statement, I added those last two. In a statement, Mr. Miller said that the White House had advised Customs and Border Protection officials to create a physical barrier between arrest teams and disruptors. We are evaluating why the CBP team may not have been following that protocol, said Mr. Miller, who just days earlier had called Mr. Pretty a would-be assassin. It remains to be seen if the rhetorical shift will tamp down the outcry or if there is any will inside the Trump administration to change tactics on the ground. Mr. Holman, a longtime ICE official, is seen among Mr. Trump's allies as someone who could bring a measure of calm to the chaos in Minnesota, particularly because he has called for targeted arrests instead of sweeping raids. But he is fully on board with Mr. Trump's mass deportation campaign. In 2018, he, along with two senior officials, recommended a policy that eventually led to families being separated at the southern border. By Monday afternoon, Mr. Trump was sitting with Mr. Holman in the Oval Office. The meeting had already been on the president's schedule to discuss immigration issues, but now it served as a send-off for Mr. Holman, whose new assignment started immediately. President Trump asked Tom Holman to fly to Minnesota because Tom Holman is the perfect man for the job, Ms. Leavitt said in a statement. Following the president's directive, Tom was on a plane within hours. This account of Mr. Trump's shifting strategy in Minnesota and the dawning realization that his usual tactics were not working is based on interviews with a dozen people, most of whom spoke on the condition of anonymity to describe the private discussions. Nobody understands TV better. In the days after the shooting of Mr. Pretty, Mr. Trump did not like what he was seeing on television. Holed up in the White House over the weekend with temperatures dropping and a major snowstorm on its way, Mr. Trump, this was Mr. Trump's snow day, Mr. Trump expressed concern about the killing to aides and allies. But his frustrations were more about the coverage. Of course, he's not, please no. Please no. While it is true that Trump said like it was bad, like he did a conference where he acknowledged that the death of Renee Good. I think he more thinks the death of Renee Good was bad now that he found out that her family were Trump fans. But he also thinks the killing of Alex Pretti was good. But I think he doesn't care about their lives. He cares because it's bad optics for him, and he's concerned about the midterms, as we know. Mr. Trump expressed concern about the killing to aides and allies, but his frustrations were more about the coverage of the events rather than the incident itself, according to people familiar with the dynamic. Yes, according to anyone familiar with any one thing Trump has done ever in his entire life. The president told people that the killing of Mr. Pretti and the protests were overshadowing his accomplishments on immigration and the border, two issues that he sees as his signature achievements and which he returns to over and over when he feels under siege politically. Nobody understands TV better than him, said Senator Lindsey Graham, who spoke with Mr. Trump over the weekend. I was among many that were telling him his instincts were right. Mr. Graham said he and others told Mr. Trump that they needed to find a solution. We're still going to pursue the hardest of the hard, but the visuals were undercutting the idea that the chaos is caused by sanctuary city policy, he said. It was not just political figures who were reaching out. Apple's chief executive, Tim Cook, told employees it was time for de-escalation in Minneapolis and said he had shared his views with Mr. Trump this week. By Sunday night, Mr. Trump signaled he was open to a change when he saw the Wall Street Journal that he was willing to see an investigation into the shooting. Even though he and his aides had already rushed to judgment about who they believed was at fault. The next morning, when Mr. Trump announced Mr. Holman would be taking over day-to-day operations in Minnesota, critics said the president was simply papering over the problem. Representative Benny Thompson, Democrat of Mississippi, said Mr. Holman's appointment was nothing but musical chairs. You don't make change by moving someone out and bringing the same type mouthpiece in another suit. Ms. Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary, knew that a reshuffle in Minneapolis was bad news for her. She was, after all, the woman in charge of immigration. She was the public face of the entire operation. Democrats were calling for her impeachment, and even Republican allies were criticizing the administration's response to the death of Mr. Pretti. So Ms. Noem called the White House and requested a meeting with the president. Mr. Trump was running late and in the middle of a radio interview when Ms. Noem arrived, but he invited her and Corey Lewandowski, her top aide and Mr. Trump's first campaign manager from 2015, to join him in the Oval Office as he finished up. Once Mr. Trump was free, the group discussed the administration's response in Minnesota and ways to better communicate the president's accomplishments on the border. But it was hardly a crisis meeting. The situation in Minneapolis was only one of the topics they covered during the nearly 2-hour Oval Office confab. Mr. Trump also chatted about the construction of the White House ballroom, one of his favorite topics, and the midterms. And we're going to get into the, in quotes, White House ballroom a little bit later in the show. Put a pin in that. Ballroom. Everyone was like, why is he spending so much money on a ballroom? He's old. He doesn't even dance. Why is he making a ballroom? Well, now we have a little more information on what this ballroom might be. Ms. Noem, despite overseeing a deadly and chaotic crackdown, seems safe for now, at least. On Tuesday, Mr. Trump told reporters that he was happy with her. I think she's done a very good job, he said. As Mr. Trump traveled to Iowa for a speech on the economy, Mr. Miller was on Air Force One, a sign that his standing had not diminished either. Despite the shift in tone from Mr. Trump, his intense federal crackdown was still active. In Minneapolis on Monday, federal agents arrested about 100 undocumented immigrants, far surpassing the daily average before the operation began in the city, according to 2 U.S. officials. And even as he tried to turn the page on the crisis in Minneapolis, saying he wanted to de-escalate the situation, he continued to blame Mr. Pretti, the intensive care unit nurse shot by Border Patrol's agents, for his own death. You can't walk in with guns, Mr. Trump said of Mr. Pretti, who was legally carrying a gun with a permit and was under a pileup of agents when one suddenly shot him in the back. He then called Mr. Pretty's death a, quote, very unfortunate incident, which is the kind of language that he loves to use. And then, Tim Walz and Trumpy, they finally met. Again, I am not super impressed with Tim Walz's response to this. I think it took him, obviously, I know he was unsure about the National Guard, but it's you got to make a decision. And it just really didn't seem like he was doing a whole lot of anything. I am not the only one to think that. There were protests right outside his office being where protesters were chanting, do your job to Tim Walz. So it's not just me saying that. NBC News, said Homan also met with Walz. So Homan met with Walz and agreed to ongoing dialogue as Trump reshuffles the immigration operation. This is very short, but the facts that they are reporting from NBC News is that President Donald Trump plans to reshuffle his immigration operation amid the backlash that we just talked about extensively from that New York Times article. He's sent in the border czar, Tom Homan, who's currently in Minnesota. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Homan met today, the 28th, and agreed on the need for an ongoing dialogue and will continue working towards those goals, according to the governor's office. Homan and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob, is it Frey or Fry? Again, that's another one that goes either way. Fry, I think it is, also met. And the Department of Homeland Security sent an initial report to Congress detailing Alex Pretty's fatal shooting in Minnesota, saying 2 officers fired their guns during the struggle. I know it was initially reported that those 2 officers were then just sent to another state, but now it has
I'm seeing Fry.
It's Fry. Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you. And then it has been reported that the officers just were moved to another state, but now they're officially on leave, according to what I've read. The Trump administration has been roundly criticized, following the Renee Good and Alex Pretty deaths. And Trump administration officials and allies told NBC News that Trump is concerned about the sustainability of the Minneapolis operations after Alex Pretty's shooting. So again, not a ton of information about what Tim Walz actually discussed, but at least he's finally in the room with these people. It only took 2, deaths of U.S. citizens, so that's real good. And many other people nationwide dying in detention. And I don't care if they're undocumented or not. The people should not be dying. It's crazy, including children, including people with different kinds of disabilities. It's just really, really bad. And then let's go just to see what the far right is doing. As I said, INFOWARS decided the most important thing to cover today was that woman who was mentioned in one sentence in the CNN article about, being investigated for buying guns to protect herself from ICE and to, possibly kill ICE agents. So today, INFOWARS published a big story saying DHS investigating woman who tried to buy gun to kill ICE agents. And this is a story happening out of Kenmore, New York. She's a female U.S. citizen made disturbing admissions while trying to purchase a firearm in Kenmore, New York. She reportedly stated that she wanted to buy a gun to protect herself from ICE agents and also to kill ICE agents. Then they go a little bit off and they go, radical leftists are becoming increasingly militant in response to the Trump administration's crackdown on illegal immigration. Every day, there are more assaults, more vehicle ramming attacks, more attempts to kill our officers. Now we have an American citizen purchasing a gun with the intent to kill our officers, stated DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin, comparing ICE day in and day out to the Nazi Gestapo, the secret police, and slave patrols has consequences. What are the consequences? That we get mad and we do something about it? The men and women of ICE and CBP are fathers and mothers. What? Yes, so we're Nazis, sons and daughters. They get up every morning to try and make our communities safer. So this is like the Republican version of what I talked about on Traitors at the top of the show. They love to say, it's like, okay, well, we can't attack anyone if they're a mother or a daughter or a son or a father. Oh, you mean anyone because that's how humans are created? we're just giving word salad here. What are we even talking about at this point? Like everyone else, they just want to go home to their families at night. Are you like Nazis had families? But when Hitler killed himself, he killed himself with his lover, right? Even the worst of us seek human partnership. What? The violence and dehumanization of these men and women who are simply enforcing the law must stop. Well, that's the exact problem here. They're not enforcing the law. They're going above the law and above the Constitution. Last week, an Oklahoma man was charged with communicating a threat through interstate commerce after he allegedly posted on YouTube about killing federal immigration agents. So, as usual, InfoWars really off topic, and that's the kind of thing that they're featuring. Greg Bovino's out. Okay, I think we covered enough of that. We all got it. Want to go quickly into the other thing that Mike's mad that I put on the thumbnail for today's episode, which is a private jet crash. Just keep in mind when I put something on the thumbnail, I decide the topics are on the thumbnail. I'm putting things. Oh my God, sorry. I just opened my phone. Open my phone and there was a NewJersey.com, because I follow them, Instagram picture there that has a picture of Vinny from Jersey Shore, who I know. I actually just did a show with him a couple weeks ago. We had a nice chat. And it says, Vinny from Jersey Shore says, "You're brainwashed if you're anti-ICE." And this is a quote from Vinny on Instagram. And I know he's pretty far right because me and him follow each other. So I get to see those little blurbs that he puts at the top of his, Instagram that only followers, that only people who he follows back can see. And they're very Republican, I'll say. I'm not going to, tell you all his business, but I'll just say they're very Republican. They're very MAGA. ICE deporting 3 million people under Obama administration and 1 million under Biden was okay. But now that Trump has deported 1 million so far in 2 terms, that's not okay. That's what, when people are telling influencers to speak out, we can't, again, Vinny's spoken out. We can't say he's not speaking out. Again, we got to be a little more clear with the way we want people speaking out. And then Vinny comments on it and he says, "Clickbait headline and never said that sentence on the cover page. That's why it isn't in quotes. Low level, lazy rage bait." Oh my God. And they're going back and forth. And then someone says it actually is in quotes. And then they're fighting back and forth. He goes, "I'm going to look into it. This is insanely defamatory," literally saying Vinny Guadagnino says, and it's something I literally never said. Oh my God, this is crazy. Oh my God. I actually should check if Vinny unfollowed me because then we know if he's really anti or pro ICE or not, I guess. We'll see. Because no, he's still following me. God bless his soul. All right. Well, at least he can handle all my ICE posts. Anyway. All right. I'm going to this thing that I wanted to show you guys. So again, when I put things on the thumbnail, I usually put a really big story that obviously we're going to cover. And then I like to include something else that is something that you might have missed in the circus of news that we were served this week, because there's so much stuff that we have to go through. But that's what this show is. I'm not a journalist. I'm not investigating all these stories myself. That's a completely different occupation. That is not mine. This is a carefully constructed curation of all the news that I ingested this week. And I do spend hours and hours ingesting the news. That is my commitment, much more than I think anyone who has a full-time job with her and an office can possibly be intaking. And so that's what I spend my time doing. I curate on it. I comment on it. I mix some really mainstream sources like the New York Times and Fox with some far right, right sources, some far left sources, some things that are Instagram-y, some things that are kind of young and alt-lefty that you probably might not be aware of unless you've gone down deep the far left rabbit hole on Instagram. And so I'm compiling that all together, commenting on it, and giving you the kind of the temperature of the internet and the world with a curation of this news every week. That's kind of what my hope and my point is. And so this private jet crash, and a couple people also sent it to me. There's not a ton of there is mainstream coverage of it, but not going into like the underlying conspiracy theory and like full transparency. It definitely is conspiracy theory, but it's the private jet crash from Bangor, Maine. So you probably read about it. It was covered, in a couple of mainstream news sources, like local Fox affiliate covered it, AP, Associated Press covered it, Fox Bangor covered it, local, more local news sources. And then this is, WGME 13. This is a CBS News affiliate, which, God help us because Barry Weiss is at the helm. But usually the local affiliates are not as corrupt. They're just kind of reporting local news stories. And here it says FAA agrees with local officials, confirms 6 killed in plane crash at Bangor Airport. Multiple people are dead at the Bangor Airport. Remains closed after a small plane crash Sunday night. It happened around 7:45 p.m. with the snowstorm underway, with witnesses and authorities saying a private jet was attempting to take off when it crashed, flipped, and caught fire. And as Michael has pointed out, we were in the middle of a snowstorm. Most planes were grounded at that time. Private jets, these smaller jets, have a lot higher likelihood of crashing than these larger commercial jets, and even the commercial jets were grounded during that time. But we're still going to just talk about it briefly because it is weird because it was a jet that was carrying lawyers working against ICE and Trump. That's the only thing I'm pointing out. I'm not saying it was definitely a conspiracy. This is just something I'm putting a pin in for later. Okay? No one needs to get angry. After initially saying 8 people were believed to be on board with 7 people killed, the FAA is now in agreement with local first responders and airport officials who say 6 people were on board and that all of them died. I did see some misinformation floating around that people were like pointing to as suspicious that everyone died except for the pilot. That is not true. The pilot has apparently been confirmed dead. Everyone on board apparently died. At approximately 7:45 p.m. last night, there was an accident involving a single GA aircraft that was departing from Bangor International Airport. Airport Director Jose Saavedra said the Bombardier CL-600 landed at Bangor International Airport to refuel Sunday night on its way from Houston to Paris. I'm guessing they mean Paris, Texas, not Paris, France. Authorities say it crashed on takeoff with the plane flipping over and catching fire. Emergency protocols were immediately activated. Saavedra said first responders were on the scene in under a minute. At this point, it is unknown if weather played a role in the crash, but numerous flights in the Northeast were canceled because of the nor'easter. Saavedra says the winter storm had just started. And I mean, when did the snow start falling? Obviously, Maine is colder, so it probably started a little bit earlier. But I was home on Sunday. Sunday night, it started Saturday night. It started like Sunday at like 3 a.m. Or a little after. That's when the snow really started falling.
So I was in Philly, and it they were projecting it to come down at like 5 p.m. there. It didn't end up making it up to New York until like 11. So like we got out of there in time just as it was starting in Philly, and it took a while for it to get to New York.
Wait, what 11 a.m.? What are we talking about?
11 p.m. in New York.
On Saturday?
On Saturday, yeah.
Right, because I was like, it was late Saturday that it started because my earlier comedy shows on Saturday went off without a hitch, and then all the late ones were at almost every club were canceled.
Yeah.
On Saturday night.
I'm just making the point that it was working its way up the coast, and that is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And so he says airport crews were removing snow from the runway and tarmac and de-icing planes prior to takeoff. The airport remained open. There were planes landing and departing around that time, and we had crews on site responding to the ongoing storm that we had at that time, Saavedra said. Rob Dawson and his family were on a plane that was next in line to take off. Oof, my God. I wasn't really concerned about taking off. It didn't seem like it was snowing too bad. They de-iced the plane. The de-icing didn't last, so we went to get a second de-icing done, and that's when that happened. We later found out that there was a plane upside down on the runway. All right, so there are, investigators looking into it. Weather conditions, mechanical failure, and pilot error will all be factors that they will look at as they try to determine the cause of this deadly crash. And so that's all the mainstream news sources. But then, you go online to these WALZ far leftist sites. And, this is literally from an Instagram called Future Elders Collective. And it's associated with mintpressnews.com, MPN. So let's go over to mintpressnews.com. And I mean, all right, this is this does not look super reputable. But it just looks like someone really wanted to, bring news to us. It's like, same lies. The regime change machine is turning on Iran again. All right. So what is, it's left. It looks lefty because it's like Gaza fights back, Israel backed rioters fail regime. Okay. I just want to see how do I see what the hell this thing is about? It's an independent newsroom. We rely on your support. So it's just kind of like this. It's an independent news source out of Minneapolis, is what Min Press News is, and it's like medium well done. Mint Press News, Mint Press News, legit. Well, when you go to keep this in mind, and I wanted to talk about this again because, like, not only had I seen it and it piqued my interest, also several listeners of the show had sent it to me. So Mint Press News on Wikipedia, it says that the site has been accused of regularly publishing pro-Russian propaganda and has been described as conspiratorial website by media studies and disinformation scholars. So, and again, when you land on the page for Mint Press News, this isn't good. So this is probably we're gonna debunk this. It's not considered a neutral or mainstream news source. It is widely characterized as far left, conspiratorial outlet with a strong bias against Western foreign policy. They have anti-Western, pro-authoritarian bias. It reports from a staunchly anti-Western perspective, often promoting narratives sympathetic to the governments of Russia, Iran, and the formerly the Assad regime in Syria. Far left stance. The site focuses on issues of social justice, but is recognized for having a very steep ideological slant. Conspiracy theories, media scholars, and watchdog groups have described this site as conspiratorial, noting it has published misinformation about the white helmets in Syria and spread anti-Semitic tropes. It was founded in 2012 by Manar Adley, formerly Mahowesh. The site is primarily funded through donations and crowdfunding, having moved away from initial angel investors. They've reposted content from Russian state-owned media outlets, RT and Sputnik, and due to its content, MPN has faced restrictions from platforms like PayPal and has been flagged for spreading pro-Russian and pro-Assad narratives. And it's interesting because Mint Press News positions itself as an independent watchdog looking for alternative perspectives, but it is widely considered unreliable. And, again, this Russian disinformation hard to get away from. But anyway, so just so you know, so I think this is not a lot of credibility here, but I wanted to discuss it again because it was sent to me and multiple times, and I also saw it on my own feed because of things I follow. So wanted to go into it, wanted to talk about it. And what it says under here on Future Elders Collective, which is who reshared this, who has like 60,000 followers. It says a private jet linked to the prominent Houston-based personal injury law firm Arnold and Itkin, which we will put up here right now. Arnold and Itkin law firm. during takeoff at Bangor International Airport in Maine on Sunday, January 26th, killing all 6 people on board. The plane crashed and caught fire shortly after attempting to take off in a severe snowstorm and low visibility conditions. Air traffic control audio reportedly indicated the aircraft was upside down shortly after departure.
They were going to France.
Yeah, they were going to France. I just saw that. I was like, well, because when they said Houston to France and they didn't say Texas or France, I'm like, you got to be specific here. Because there is a Paris, Texas. All 6 people listed on the flight manifest were killed. Initial reports from the FAA were conflicting, mentioning 7 deaths and 1 seriously injured survivor, but local officials later confirmed 6 fatalities with no survivors transported to the hospital. The jet was registered to an LLC that shares a Houston address with the law firm Arnold & Itkin. The firm's founders, Kurt Arnold and Jason Itkin, were reportedly not on the aircraft. Identities of the victims have not been officially released by authorities, but some have been confirmed through family members and sources. We have Tara Arnold, an attorney at the firm and wife of co-founder Kurt Arnold, Shauna Collins, an event planner, Jacob Hosmer, a Houston area pilot confirmed by his father to be the captain of the flight. The law firm Arnold & Itkin has been linked to anti-ICE and anti-Trump labels primarily due to its political donations and specific legal cases involving undocumented immigrants. The firm and its founders, Kurt Arnold and Jason Itkin, were major financial backers of the First Tuesday PAC during the 2024 election cycle. This PAC ran multi-million-dollar ad campaigns aimed at stopping MAGA Republicans and encouraging voters to vote for every Democrat. In 2024 alone, the firm reportedly donated $300,000 to efforts focused on electing Democrats. The firm is well known for representing immigrants in high-profile cases. Kurt Arnold's biography highlights that he secured the largest settlement for an undocumented worker in U.S. history. Because of their work and their financial opposition to the Trump administration's immigration policies, people need to ask more questions. So listen, I mean, we can ask more questions. Right now, there's not a ton of or any real reputable information that would point to this being anything other than a plane crash. A little bit more, things are coming up from the Houston public media. It says what to know about Arnold and Itkin, the Houston law firm linked to the main plane crash. Like that was just published 4 hours ago. And it has a little more information. But again, I mean, this is more like put a pin in it. Then 3 hours ago, they published something from the Houston Chronicle that says, what is beyond? Gosh, why all these pop-ups are brutal. Sorry, it says, what is beyond? 1 second. What is beyond? Plane crash. Bangor. I can't even get this anymore. Travel. Yeah, I mean, like they're saying that the plane worked for luxury travel company. I'm trying to see if there's anything else we can get here. Beyond. Yeah, I don't see anything else that is like super compelling just to back up anyone who said that. So again, I mean, like just as, conspiracy theories exist on the right, they also exist on the left. So, very well, this is an example of that. But, we could put a pin in it. We could just remember that. Now we know. We looked into it. Nothing really reputable, but you can keep searching it. Michael, do you have any feelings on this? Mike was so angry that I even talked about it, which was like, you love conspiracy theories, Mike. It's your favorite topic.
I mean, look, the thing where it's like they're fighting ICE, they're doing whatever. It's like, no, they donated some money to Trump, to some super PACs that their whole motto was we need to stop or donated money against Trump, right?
Yeah, but we know that does move the needle with the Trump administration because, last week we just covered him getting multiple time fraudsters out of prison time because they're making donations to his campaign. So it's not a crazy thought.
Right. I don't think he's crashing a plane
Over 300K.
over 300K.
I hear you. I hear you. I'm like when we're not talking milli yet. I do think that's a little weird.
And the other side too is like it's the founder of the firm's wife was on that plane. So it's like if anyone should get looked at, it's the husband.
Oh boy.
I mean,
Okay. All right.
this guy's got his name's on the building of a personal injury firm that can afford a private plane. You know what I mean? Do the math. It's way cheaper to blow up a plane than it is to divorce your wife.
All right. Well, you research that and see if he was cheating while we move on.
Look, I'm just saying.
I'm not even disputing you.
My
I would believe it.
my thing is farcical and will probably get me sued by a lawyer because I'm talking shit about a lawyer. But
you just say allegedly.
Allegedly, sure. I'm just saying that's less farcical in my mind than the Trump administration put an end to these six personal injury lawyers because they donated $300K, which is the minimum you can donate as a personal injury law firm to like a political candidate. You need to donate all that you can because you need political favor to stay in office.
Oh, I was like, where are you pulling these numbers from?
No, I'm just saying, like
Yeah.
We're talking about people who, I mean, my big beef with PI people is that I think they're a scourge on everything, right? Like they drive up health insurance costs more than anything. So it's like, we're
I don't think anyone's a real big fan or takes personal injury attorneys that very seriously. So I hear you.
Right. I have one exception. It's Denzel in Philadelphia.
Oh
That's
God.
it. That's the only ambulance chaser, and my friend Kevin.
Wait, is Top Dog Law the New York one that does ads on radio in New York? Is that personal injury? I love their ads. Top Dog Law. You gotta get a top dog.
Listen, there's two things that advertise on the radio.
I think they're pretty pro MAGA too. Top Dog Law, yeah, personal injury law, yeah.
It's either personal injury or structured settlement law.
Yeah. Is that the one who's MAGA? I looked up. I wanted to like buy merch from Top Dog Law as a joke, and then I like looked it up, and I was like, oh, I don't think we can buy this. They're MAGA. All right. So that's the plane crash. We went into it, putting a pin in it, but looks, that there's not really any meat to that. Now, this Mike showed this to me this afternoon. So there's this great, fun account online. I had seen this woman's videos prior, but I hadn't seen this one until Mike sent it to me. But there's this woman who has subscribed to Donald Trump's emails, and she basically that's all she does. She just reads Trump's emails online, and they're very funny. Her handle is Happy Mom and Grandma 1, and she just goes over Trump emails. And today she shared, or like yesterday, she shared a crazy one that came from Trump where so he sends out this like fake citizen survey, and it says, why haven't you donated to me? Are you an illegal alien? This is really what the memo says. And then,
do you want me to play this video or no?
Do you think we should play it?
I don't think it's an issue. I mean, it's an Instagram video. She's putting it out there to be informative.
Yeah, she'll just go. Yeah, she'll just go through it easier. But it's, I mean, it's fun. I think it's horrible, but it's also funny. And at this point, if you're falling for a scam from Trump, you deserve to lose your money, I think.
Is threatening his followers. Are you a proud American citizen, or does ICE need to come and track you down? This is the whole email, a memo from Trump. I reached out last week about this stupid survey. Your file says you're a top MAGA patriot, but you haven't responded. Don't tell me you're an illegal alien. That cannot be true. This is your final moment to prove me wrong. And then it says, please.
Guess how you can prove them wrong. One guess.
Are you a proud American citizen, or does ICE need to come and track you down? And spoiler alert, there is a donation required to submit this stupid survey to prove that you're an American citizen so that ICE does not come and track you down. And guess what you have to do to prove that you're an American citizen? You just click that box that says, are you an American citizen or an illegal alien? The other option is illegal alien, which comes with directions to end the survey immediately. They also have this fan favorite question. You do have an option to say what you think he should focus on over the next few weeks. But like I said, there is a donation required to submit your response to the president threatening to send ICE to you if you do not prove that you're an American citizen by clicking a box.
And if you missed it, the fan favorite question that she didn't even want to vocalize was it said, are you male, female, or the third box was insane. This is a real memo from the president of the United States. It's not a joke. It's not The Onion. She subscribed. I mean,
It's not really a memo from the president. It's a memo from a Trump super PAC.
From a super PAC.
Which is always
right.
getting money, and Trump does have to sign off on.
Right. Well, but it does say memo. It says memo from Trump, but on it. But it's like her thing is she subscribes to kind of like all the MAGA stuff, right? But she's a subscriber to the actual MAGA newsletters too. Wait. Trump is threatening MAGA now because I'm like direct. Someone goes, this, I know. But the thing is, she's saying Trump specifically. So are we sure this is not this is not from the Donald Trump, official campaign? It's from a PAC? Are we sure? How do we know?
So I Googled it, and
because it could be from either.
well, this is HuffPo is saying it's from a Trump PAC.
From a Trump PAC. Okay. That makes sense. Less so because I do believe he would send this, but more so because this, just the layout looks really cheap. And like even my campaign had much better layouts in our political emails than this. It was quite funny. They missed an opportunity for if you checked that you weren't a legal immigrant, they should have asked if you could get out of it, but then they should have had it like in pesos or something. Like they could have made it real racist and got more money. Missed opportunity, but anyway, crazy nonetheless. But that account is pretty funny. I do think she's doing the Lord's work there. And then next thing in girl would be ILHAN OMAR. Everyone saw. I'm guessing by now, the attack that happened as she was speaking at a town hall yesterday. And then, of course, speaking of conspiracies, a lot of conspiracies started flying on the right that she had somehow hired this guy to spray her because now it says that it was apple cider vinegar in the syringe. So everyone thinks it's some like made up thing now. And the fact that she kind of squared up after she was attacked, like she was going to fight him. People thought that was fake. I don't know. It didn't look fake to me. She's kind of scrappy. This is from The Hill. It says Trump claims without evidence that Omar probably had herself sprayed. President Trump suggested Representative ILHAN OMAR, who, again, Democrat from Minnesota, as I'm sure you know, she's one of the more famous politicians, staged an incident during her town hall Tuesday night when a man sprayed her with an unknown substance. Again, we're not saying it's staged. President Trump is saying it was staged. I don't think about her. I think she's a fraud. Trump told ABC News she probably had herself sprayed, knowing her. I like that he says, I don't think about her, but he thinks enough about her to think that it was a fake incident. When asked if he had seen the video of the incident, the president said, I haven't seen it. No, I hope I don't have to bother. A live stream of the town hall showed the man standing and yelling at Omar, who was calling for Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem to resign or face impeachment. Omar continued with the town hall after the incident, saying these fucking assholes are not going to get away with it. She struck an even more defiant tone in remarks after the event. I've survived war, and I'm definitely going to survive intimidation or whatever these people think they can throw at me because I'm built that way, the lawmaker said. And I mean, again, I don't know what kind of security is going on at these town halls, but this is becoming more and more frequent. These small instances of political violence, some resulting in death, some resulting in people getting, actually, hurt. So I really hope that people are taking the appropriate precautions. Some people, I read accounts of people saying that the guy was, he was in the front row and they were saying that he was acting kind of fidgety. I think that if you're not doing like pat downs, metal detectors when you're going into town halls, like that's kind of crazy at that point. We have the technology to do so, but people are going to do what they're going to do. The Minnesota Democrat wrote later Tuesday on the social platform X, aka Twitter, where they get so mad when we say that. I'm okay. I'm a survivor, so this small agitator isn't going to intimidate me from doing my work. I don't let bullies in. I'm grateful to my constituents who rallied behind me, Minnesota strong. And like, this is what we need. Like, this is what we need from people like, Tim Walz. We need people out on the front lines. And I think that's really all. Yeah, it was a syringe. The man was immediately arrested by MPD officers and booked into Hennepin County Jail for third-degree assault. Representative Omar was uninjured and resumed speaking at the event. Minneapolis forensic scientists responded to process the scene. I mean, apple cider vinegar has a pretty specific smell, so I think we would be able to know if it was that. It might just be a fear tactic where he's like, I'm going to put something in a syringe so people get scared, but I don't actually want to, attack her with acid, which was, nice of him. And, someone tackled him right away. So there was a security guard there. Whether or not they were armed, I don't know, but the security guard did lunge on him right away and pulled him back. It was the guy looked like a middle-aged white guy. I would guess maybe early 40s white guy. He could be a Minnesota late 30s. Sorry, that's rude. I can't tell. But he, 30s, 40s kind of white guy is what he looked like. All right. So, but yeah, Minnesota, just things are going crazy, but Minnesotans are just absolutely showing up, and it's really inspiring to see, I will say. Really inspiring to see. Unfortunate that we have to do that, but inspiring to see. As usual, the far left is, really hating on Jasmine Crockett. They were reporting that she was meeting with, or had a Zoom meeting with some, billionaire or multimillionaire funder, which brought me to this Punchbowl News article that said Crockett supporter hints ads attacking Talarico are coming. Well, obviously, we would expect that. They're running against each other. It says, during a private donor call, a top supporter of Representative Jasmine Crockett's Senate run said the campaign is planning to start attacking State Representative James Talarico on air. Talarico and Crockett are running in a competitive Democratic primary that's pitting two rising stars with a penchant for viral moments against each other. To date, Talarico's campaign has dominated the airwaves, and a recent public poll found him up 9 points. During the January 22nd Zoom call, Crockett supporter Jason Lee, speaking alongside campaign pollster Terrence Woodbury and deputy campaign manager Carol Riemel, said the campaign is going to begin in earnest a very robust communication strategy. On the paid communication side, Crockett is going to have a robust program with some very strong ads that take advantage of the positive messaging, but also allow her to present some information to the electorate, some contrast information about her record and her opponent's record, Lee said. I mean, I hear that, but I just think it's have we really learned nothing from Kamala's campaign or from Zohran Mamdani's campaign? What we want to be doing is you can attack a little, but overall, I don't think attack ads are super helpful, especially on the left. I think you really need to present what you are going to do clearly and concisely, why you are going to be the better fighter, what it is you are going to deliver, and why you are more well-suited to deliver those things than the other person. I don't think attacking the person unless you have anything, unless you have something super juicy on them, I don't think it's really the moment to do that. It says, here's more from Lee during the call, quote, and because her opponent is somewhat less well known, people do need to hear certain information so they can make an informed decision. The other candidate needs to go through the same vetting. Lee said the spending will be on broadcast television, cable television, digital social media, and connected TV. Jasmine Crockett also needs to be absolutely doing the podcast rounds. Lee added YouTube ads will be a particularly focus of the strategy given it's where a lot of Latino voters are. When contacted about the briefing, Lee told us that he has no contractual relationship with the campaign. I'm a supporter, a volunteer. I obviously talked to the Congresswoman, and I've been a part of briefings and conversations as a supporter. Lee, the son of late Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, who was a Democrat from Texas as well, was recently involved in controversy while advising Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. The Chicago Inspector General recommended that Johnson fire Lee last October after Lee refused to participate in an IG probe. So, I guess they're suggesting with that comment that this is perhaps maybe why, Lee is a supporter, like he's a supporter in quotes, in that he wants Jasmine Crockett to get elected and get more out of the deal. Billionaire mega donor Carla Jurvetson was also present on the Crockett Zoom call, which is what the far left was freaking out about, per video of the briefing. Crockett and Talarico debated over the weekend with just over a month to go under Texas's March 3rd primary date. The Democrats are seeking to flip the Lone Star state blue and may benefit from a chaotic GOP primary that is likely heading to a runoff. So that's interesting. So again, and we see this before, the GOP is really good at creating chaos and successfully distracting the left with that chaos. While both candidates face steep odds of winning the general election, some Democrats have raised concerns that Crockett's image as a partisan fighter may hurt her electability. Crockett has brushed off those attacks. Talarico hasn't made a commitment to avoid going negative on Crockett, but during Saturday's debate, Talarico said that the two candidates are all focused on the same goal, which is winning in November and stopping a Senator Ken Paxton. For sure. And so let's look into this Carla Jurvetson for a second. And I do want to point out the here's now why Kevin. I think I'm saying that in the right order. That's like an Instagram that I really love. And Kevin, here's why Kevin. And he recently pointed out that everyone is so anti Jasmine Crockett because of AIPAC stuff. But he also pointed out that the Track AIPAC website isn't always super reliable. They oftentimes print different amounts of money that different candidates or elected officials supposedly got from AIPAC. So again, just because that site is tracking something that you just because they're talking about something that you like and you are on their side and you don't think elected officials should be taking money from AIPAC, that doesn't mean that the source, and we've used it here, but he pointed out a good point that source is not always reliable and that they have been off with their numbers multiple times before. So keep that in mind. That doesn't mean that, I think it would be hard to say someone has taken from AIPAC if they hadn't, but the numbers seem to be off. So Carla Jurvetson, she's a physician and a philanthropist, 60 years old, from New Haven, Connecticut. She's a major Democratic Party donor. She has particularly focused on supporting candidates who are women, racial minorities, and from underrepresented communities. And she is a prominent activist in the movement to protect voting rights and American democracy. So this is so far seems like a rich person who's actually doing a good thing with her money. Of course, this would make the far left angry. Let's see. Let's dive a little bit more. She's the vice chair of Emily's List, which supports Democratic pro-choice women and has more than 5 million members. Emily's List I heard a lot about during my campaign. Definitely supporting a lot of female candidates. She's been a political organizer and volunteered and fundraised for Democratic candidates for more than 35 years. She's a Stanford undergrad. She canvassed for Hillary Clinton. Oh, so yeah, the far left definitely going to hate her. So again, maybe just too establishment for a lot of people, I'm guessing, is the thing here. But she doesn't really seem all right. So controversy here. This is what I was looking for. Controversy arose with her large donation of $5.4 million to Women Vote, the political action committee run by Emily's List. Her donation was in the form of Baidu shares, a Chinese internet company traded on the U.S. stock exchange, and was unusual outside of Silicon Valley since it was in the form of stock shares. The controversy arose because only American citizens can donate to U.S. elections. Okay. And Emily's List spokesperson said, "We cleared the donation through our lawyers. In November 2018, Jurvetson was listed as one of the 5 surprising $1 million donors to the U.S. midterm elections. Emily's list would fund the successful campaign of Congresswoman Sharice Davids. In 2018, the second Native American woman ever elected to Congress. Yeah, I mean, this just doesn't. She also hosted a DNC reception for Barack Obama. That Steph Curry, the NBA player, attended. She was a large contributor to the Persist PAC, which was Elizabeth Warren's presidential campaign supporter. She contributed $1 million to Joe Biden's PAC. She has done a lot of, I mean, there's just, again, like some of these people I get it, are too middle of the road. Like she, has donated to Chuck Schumer as well. So some of these people you're going to like, some of these people you're not gonna like. But I guess that's just like what people are really trying to throw her under the bus because of, they're claiming AIPAC, they're claiming she has ties to Israel. Jasmine Crockett has spoken out against that. She's like, I'm not in cahoots with Israel the way you think I am, but of course she's going to say that. So we'll see. I think either way, if either of them win, this is good news, Talarico or Jasmine Crockett, but definitely have seen the far left really going against Jasmine Crockett because that's what always happens. Someone's a star for like 10 seconds and then we have to attack them. All right, quickly going into international news. I guess this maybe could be worse, even though it's hard to believe it could be worse, but it could be worse right now. And this is about the coup in China, or the attempted coup, I suppose. This is from the International Business Times UK. Did Xi Jinping foil a coup attempt 2 hours before it happened? Arrests allegedly reach thousands. And this is from January 26th. Xi Jinping's early action against alleged coup plot triggers mass arrests of military personnel, a massive shakeup not seen since 1971 under Mao Zedong. Chinese President Xi Jinping allegedly narrowly avoided a coup attempt after receiving advance intelligence roughly 2 hours before it was set to unfold, triggering a sweeping crackdown that reportedly led to nearly 3,000 arrests. Sources suggest that those detained included military personnel and members of their families, raising questions about internal stability within China's armed forces. While Beijing has not publicly confirmed the existence of a coup plot, the scale and speed of the alleged response have raised questions about whether the coup attempt was legitimate. Reports of mass arrests in China stem from President Xi's sweeping purge of senior military leadership centered on General Zhang Zuya, I'm going to be butchering these, sorry, the first-ranked vice chairman of the Central Military Commission. According to the Financial Times, Zhang and fellow General Liu Zhenli are under investigation for serious discipline violations, a language commonly used by the Chinese Communist Party to cover corruption, abuse of power, and political disloyalty. The PLA's official newspaper accused Zhang of undermining the chairman responsibility system, a doctrine that guarantees Xi's absolute command over the military. This framing suggests that the investigation is not only about corruption, but about ensuring loyalty and preventing any military figure from accumulating independent authority. The New York Post describes the purge as the largest military shakeup since 1971, but also does not confirm mass arrest figures. Historically, PLA purges can involve detentions, interrogations, surveillance, and restrictions affecting associates and family members, but exact numbers are rarely disclosed. As of now, claims allege that there have been 3,000 arrests. No coup attempt has been confirmed. However, experts acknowledged that the Chinese military has historically been the only institution capable of challenging party leadership. In past eras, including Mao Zedong's rule, there were genuine coup concerns, such as the alleged 1971 plot by Lin Bao. Many observers and commentators have drawn parallels to a coup scenario because the scale of the current military shakeup is being compared to 1971, the last time China experienced a purge of similar magnitude. That period coincided with genuine coup concerns when senior PLA commander Lin Biao was accused of plotting against Mao Zedong. While no evidence has emerged that a coup attempt occurred this time, the historical comparison has fueled speculation about internal instability and the reasons behind Xi Jinping's unusually decisive action. Despite news that Zhang leaked nuclear weapons information to the CIA, Chinese authorities have not formally accused Zhang of espionage or named the CIA in any official charges. However, in a closed-door briefing for senior Chinese military officials, Zhang was said to be accused of leaking core technical data related to Chinese nuclear weapons program to the United States. Those accounts came from sources familiar with the internal meeting, not from an official statement by Beijing. Official statements from the Chinese Defense Ministry speak only of discipline violations and undermining party leadership, which many said point to corruption and political loyalty cases rather than to specific espionage with foreign agencies. For now, Chinese authorities have not publicly accused Zhang of being a CIA informant or named the CIA in connection with the investigation. Instead, the official explanation is that he is under investigation for serious violations of discipline and law. So that's just what's going on there. The next thing I had was just Nicki Minaj being Nicki Minaj. So, she's still at it, supporting Trump, saying, Trump, she's the number one Trump fan. And people are kind of pointing out that not only, did Nicki Minaj only a couple of years ago speak openly very differently about being, pro-immigration, but she, as a reminder, Nicki Minaj herself was a, quote, illegal immigrant when she was 5 years old. And that's what she was talking about. So in 2018, she said on her own Instagram, quote, I came to this country as an illegal immigrant. She said that herself. It's so interesting to see people's evolution. She said, I can't imagine the horror of being in a strange place and having my parents stripped away from me at the age of 5. She continued, this is so scary to me. Please stop this. Can you imagine the terror and panic these kids feel right now, not knowing if their parents are dead or are alive, if they'll ever see them again? The 35-year-old rapper at the time, this was in 2018, originally hails from Trinidad and Tobago and moved to Queens, New York when she was 5 in the late 1980s. So that was just like that. People, that's just been popping up, being how did this change?
Did you see the news today?
What? We
saw how it changed. She got the gold card.
What's the goal? I saw all the footage of her, saying I'm Trump's number one fan. They were
holding hands, but she showed off the gold card, which is the Stephen Miller was talking about that. The thing that was like $10 million, you get this card, you get to the front of the line. It's better than a green card. It's a green card with Trump's face on it, which means it can never be revoked, it can never be turned down. It's the gold card, baby.
But she's famous. Why would she need that?
Because it just said she came to this country illegally.
Yeah, I think, but then I think she came illegally. I'm guessing that you can't become. I don't think she would be able to have done everything that she did if she didn't eventually get become a citizen. I'm sure she's since become a citizen.
No, I'm pretty sure that's why she got the gold card.
She was still undocumented?
Yeah, I mean, you make a certain amount of money. It's like, what are they going to do? Kick you out? But
well, I know.
I mean, she also has there's legal troubles that would get in the way of her having a green card.
Right. And yeah, well, that's why a lot of people are saying that she's pro-Trump to get, her brother and her, boyfriend, husband, whatever, the sex offender out of the trouble that they're into.
Yeah, so she posted a photo. Yeah, she posted a photo of Trump's gold card on Wednesday, suggesting she may have purchased the card that provides fast-track U.S. citizenship after she appeared alongside the president earlier in the day to promote his quote-unquote Trump accounts.
Right.
Which,
yeah, because it said she was an illegal immigrant. I don't know. All right. Well, I just wanted to point that out. I was like, it's just like extra hurtful when people who
she's a legal permanent resident in the United States.
Well, and that should be fine. I know people who are legal.
But that ain't a gold card.
No, and legal permanent resident is different than obtaining citizenship. That's for sure. All right, and those people are, getting in trouble right now. All right. But I just wanted to point to that because that just broke my damn heart. Really, I mean, she was already breaking my heart, but that just broke my heart again. All right, so I saw a video on Instagram, and I talk about Instagram a lot because I do think it's how many people are getting their full. They're using it as their full news source, and I really recommend against that. But it's a good starting point because you can get your algorithm going so that the things that you are interested in start getting fed to you. But you do need to look into it further. So I saw this video of a woman, not citing any sources, just doing a 2-camera video, being like, they're fucking building gas chambers in Indiana and what's happening. And she kind of was trying to connect it to like, this is what they're going to do to detainees, of ICE agents next. And I was like, all right, I obviously have to look into it. So I looked into it a little bit more. And this is what I found. So this is from the Indiana Capitol Chronicle, the government and politics section from today. It says Indiana lawmakers remove nitrogen hypoxia from execution bill. So what it looks like to me is like Indiana has introduced a bill that is expanding the death penalty, which we talk about a lot on the show. That's not good. But it doesn't, and I guess she was flagging it being like, oh no, this is what's going to happen to detainees now. But this doesn't look to be associated with the Department of Homeland Security in any way. This would be people who are going through due process of the American legal system, which, I mean, there's a whole other problem that those detainees we seem to be skirting the legal system and Constitution entirely. But this is what this says. So a bill expanding and I think it's important that you know whether or not it relates to ICE detainees. So a bill expanding Indiana's execution methods was significantly amended Tuesday after lawmakers voted to remove nitrogen hypoxia as an option and added provisions on media access and mental health support. House Bill 1119, authored by Representative Jim Lucas, Republican Seymour, is still pending a final full chamber vote, which must take place by Monday for the bill to continue moving through the legislative process. Among the adopted amendments were 2 from Representative Alex Zimmerman, Republican North Vernon, including a major deletion of nitrogen hypoxia as an execution method. Zimmerman cited constitutional concerns and described the method as physically putting a mask over someone's face and pumping nitrogen into their body. So I don't know how this turned into gas chambers. Like, the word chamber is used multiple times in this article, but not as in gas chamber, as in the political chamber. So I don't know if it was confusion over that or if the person was kind of describing colloquially putting a mask over one's face as like a one-person gas chamber. I'm not sure if they were if they were on purpose talking about gas chambers to make people scared, if they misunderstood the article, if they were misinformed. There are various articles. This is just the one that I felt like described it best. But again, it's just another instance of be careful what you're seeing online because, obviously we see a lot of misinformation online, so check it. 2, we see things blown out of proportion, both on the right and the left. And 3, this is something I've been seeing a lot now with ICE, is people are reposting old videos of ICE abuse, right? And so it makes it seem like this is all happening at once. Like one I saw this week was a woman making a turn. ICE makes an illegal turn. They crash into her car. And then they go out and they drag her, the driver, who they just hit, out of her car. And so that really did happen, but I looked into it a little bit more, and that's something that happened like months ago. So again, it's fine that this is happening, but like, let's make sure we're not resharing things as if they're just happening. And if you want to reshare it, kind of saying like, oh, ICE has always been these people, we're only just finding out now. That's fine. Just like put a date, like this happened in November 2025 or whatever. Because I think it's not good to think all these things are happening in unison if they are not. And we really need to concentrate on having an accurate timeline and just accurate information. And if you see like one, stray video of someone talking about Indiana introducing building gas chambers, and you go, why isn't anyone talking about it? Before you just start sharing that information, talk about it. Yes, Mike.
We have talked about this on this exact show before.
Gas chambers?
Not gas chambers, the use of nitrogen as means of execution in certain states. And I remember thinking, that sounds like the most peaceful way to go.
Oh, well,
just the world's most intense whippet ever.
Okay, well, yes, we've talked about the death penalty extensively on
but
this
the
show,
forever
for sure.
whippet death penalty specifically.
Well, Michael, if you ever need to go by death penalty, I'll speak to the judge on your behalf and say this is what the man wants. All right, so
that technically is a gas chamber, though. It's nitrogen gas.
No. I understand, and that's why I'm trying to follow this woman's thought process. But I think it is unnecessary fear mongering to say that the way she presented this information was if we were building in Indiana, or the government, not me, was building Holocaust-style gas chambers. I think that is not right to say it the way she did. And I mean, I'm guessing she did it on purpose to get clicks, and I really, really don't like that. Nitrogen hypoxia is not an acceptable method of carrying out the penalty of death, he told the chamber. The amendment ultimately passed 58-32 with bipartisan support. The addition of a firing squad as an option remains in the bill, with lethal injection the only method currently permitted in Indiana. The commissioner of the Department of Correction would choose the method used. Another amendment from Zimmerman would allow at least one media witness to be present during state executions selected by the department. Zimmerman said the change would increase transparency, noting that Indiana and Wyoming are the only states that don't specifically allow journalists to be present at executions. So I agree with this. Lucas said the amendment, which passed unanimously, brings a level of reasonable and responsible transparency. I mean, I don't agree with the death penalty at all, but if we're doing it, there certainly should be a member of the press there. Currently, but there should, technically be two members of the press there, I would say. Currently, the only opportunity for an independent media witness is if the condemned inmate invites one. Lawmakers also overwhelmingly adopted an amendment from Representative Victoria Garcia Wilborn, Democrat from Fishers, which expands mental health services. I liked seeing this in here, which expands mental health services for execution team members, including education on mental resiliency, warning signs of PTSD, and state-funded treatment. It's just also like, we're in the age of AI and robots and all of this, and we still have to have living human beings be the injector. We can't develop some kind of like machine that, like, even though someone would have to set up the machine and like perhaps time it, we can't have someone else doing this, who is not a living, breathing human. People struggle with the long-standing trauma that accompanies taking someone's life, Garcia Wilburn said. It goes against our God-given nature to take another human life. 2 other amendments failed. One proposal from Representative Bob Morris, Republican Fort Wayne, would have similarly required professional psychological counseling for those who carry out Indiana executions and directed a study on firearm caliber for firing squads. Morris said it was very disturbing that former execution team members counsel current participants. A different amendment offered by Representative Matt Pierce, Democrat Bloomington, sought to remove confidentiality protections surrounding lethal injection drugs and their sources. Oh, this is getting more and more corrupt.
Didn't we look into that too at one point?
I'm sure these are all ongoing issues.
It was like Arkansas was getting like illegal opium or poppies needed for like a lethal injection.
That sounds vaguely familiar, but I mean, yeah, I mean, this is like, again, so it's not only that I am morally opposed to the death penalty, at all, across the board, but then you read all these other problems with it. When a court sentences someone to death, it's done in the name of us all, Pierce said. I think that we should not try to keep secret from the people of the state what is being done in their name. We should know what kind of drug is actually being used and where it came from. That shouldn't be some secret. Agree. Meanwhile, a Senate proposal authorizing firing squads effectively died after committee leaders declined to hold a vote to advance the measure to the full chamber. The move to add firing squads is an attempt to deal with the high cost of pentobarbital used in Indiana's execution process. Oh my God. Wow. So again, that's where I got there from kind of a misleading video regarding ICE, but then I read the article and I said, this needs to be shared anyway. Politico now reporting on the Trump censorship and, of course, Gavin Newsom's at the helm. Have no fear. Gavin Newsom's here, everybody. This is from Politico. Newsom to probe claims of Trump critical censorship at TikTok. So if you follow a lot of like influencers and stuff, and like I don't even know if I have to. I mean, I'm not really performing well on TikTok. I never have. I think I'm a little too old for the vibe on TikTok, and I really only downloaded TikTok because I love ASMR videos, and they're much better on TikTok than they are on Instagram. And they do like Instagram lives. I have TikTok lives of ASMR that are much better than they are on Instagram. But I got to see if I have to delete my TikTok because it really does seem like it's out of hand. I know Meg Stalter was like, delete your TikTok, everyone. And I love her. And I do think she is doing some good stuff. So let's see. Newsom to probe claims of Trump critical censorship at TikTok. The review comes amid wider accusations that content criticizing ICE is being flagged for review or throttled just days after the platform closed a Trump-backed deal to avoid facing a U.S. ban. And, there was a lot of coverage on this. This is just what I picked. Governor Gavin Newsom is reviewing whether social media platform TikTok is violating state law by censoring content critical of President Donald Trump. He announced Monday evening in an X post, "It's time to investigate," Newsom said. Newsom's review, first reported by Politico, comes amid wider accusations that TikTok is flagging for review or throttling criticism of the Trump administration and immigration and customs enforcement just days after the platform closed a deal to avoid a U.S. ban. The agreement, backed by the White House, created a majority American board that gives Trump allies significant sway in the short-form video app's U.S. operations. In a separate X post Monday, the governor's press account said Newsom was launching the review after his office received reports and independently confirmed instances of suppressed content critical of President Trump. The Post further said Newsom is calling on the California Department of Justice to determine whether it violates California law. The independent confirmation involved sending a direct message on TikTok containing the word Epstein in reference to now deceased financier Jeffrey Epstein, who was accused of sex trafficking, the governor's office told Politico. Newsom's office alleges it returned a warning from TikTok that the message was not sent because it may violate community guidelines. I like that their big investigation was doing what literally any of us would just do if we were going to test it out in our own home. TikTok's U.S. venture, in an X post Monday, attributed recent bugs to a major infrastructure issue caused by a power outage at one of its U.S. data center sites. It said the outage has been fixed but triggered a cascading systems failure that may result in slower load times, timed out requests, and engagement issues such as receiving 0 likes on a video. Neither TikTok nor the White House immediately responded to an inquiry regarding Newsom's announcement Monday evening. In a statement to Politico, California Department of Justice spokesperson Alyssa Perez said State Attorney General Rob Bonta's office is unable to comment on, even to confirm or deny, any potential or ongoing investigations, but called free speech rights a cornerstone of our democracy. TikTok's $14 billion deal to establish a U.S. subsidiary last week puts Larry Ellison, a Trump ally and billionaire who co-founded tech giant Oracle, who we'll be talking about more in just a second regarding the ballroom, at the forefront of its new ownership scheme. Oracle is a major investor in the new enterprise. The move sparked speculation from some tech observers that the app, like Elon Musk's X before it, could foster a rise in pro-Trump content. But content moderation has emerged as the leading concern since TikTok landed the deal. On Monday, various users reported that TikTok appeared to be stifling content about Minneapolis ICE protests and federal agents' fatal shooting of 37-year-old ICU nurse Alex Pretti. Some celebrities and Democratic politicians reported similar observations. California State Senator Scott Wisner said in an X post that a TikTok video he posted Monday morning criticizing ICE and mentioning the Minneapolis shooting received 0 views. When asked about Weiner's video, a TikTok spokesperson pointed back to the X post about the data center power outage. Clearly, TikTok is suppressing criticisms of ICE. Weiner, who boasts nearly 50,000 TikTok followers, and said he's never posted a video with 0 engagement, told Politico in an interview. He argued the TikTok deal timing isn't a coincidence, adding that Trump wants to control everything. This is a kleptocracy, Weiner said. Weiner deleted his original post and re-uploaded the video early Monday afternoon with mentions of ICE replaced by ICE block emojis in a bid to test the issue. His re-uploaded video had received approximately 300 views as of Monday evening. All right. So again, I mean, it won't be very hard to figure out. This is something that we can definitely do as users and as the plebeians. We can very quickly figure out whether they're suppressing anti-Trump and anti-ICE content. That's not going to be hard to figure out, but heads up, might be happening. And again, speaking about Oracle, so there's an account called the Dre Dossier on Instagram, and she has been doing like a lot of independent reporting. Let me see it right here. Oh boy, great. Okay. The Dre Dossier. The Dre Dossier. And she, describes herself as someone who is investigating tech, power, and politics. All her information is on her bio. It's at the DREY Dossier, which is DOSSIER. And so she posted like a multiple part video that's been picked up by other people, and you can kind of trace it online. But she said that she was doing some investigation around Larry Ellison, which is how this all started. And she quickly started to see that it didn't seem at all that Trump was actually building a ballroom and rather an underground data center. So she started with Larry Ellison, which then led her to Oracle, makes sense. And that led her to Oracle has built underground data centers in Israel. Dun, dun, dun. And she was like, well, if they're building an underground data center, under the ballroom in the White House, then the ballroom is just like what they're building as like a decoy, then there has to be a paper trail. This is her thought process. And she found that the data centers in Israel were approximately 90,000 square feet and cost approximately $300 million. And then she goes, and the paperwork for this ballroom, in quotes, is that it's approximately 90,000 square feet and approximately $300 million. And that's where it starts. It goes on and on. She explains it. It's quite lengthy, and there's like multiple parts if you want to go look through it all. But it all goes, and then it's called Project. It goes to this thing called Project Stargate, which you can find on OpenAI.com, and it says, it's linked to Project Stargate, basically. And then it says, like, the Stargate project is a new company which intends to invest $500 billion over the next 4 years building new AI infrastructure for OpenAI in the United States. We will begin deploying $100 billion immediately. This infrastructure will secure American leadership in AI, create hundreds of thousands of American jobs, and generate massive economic benefit for the entire world. This project will not only support the reindustrialization of the United States, but also provide a strategic capability to protect the national security of America and its allies. That's the part of the sentence that I think you're going to want to flag. The initial equity funders in Stargate are SoftBank, OpenAI, Oracle, and MGX. SoftBank and OpenAI are the lead partners for Stargate, with SoftBank having financial responsibility and OpenAI having operational responsibility. Masayoshi Son will be the chairman. ARM, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Oracle, and OpenAI are the key initial technology partners. The build out is currently underway, starting in Texas, and we are evaluating potential sites across the country for more campuses as we finalize definitive agreements. As part of Stargate, Oracle, NVIDIA, and OpenAI will closely collaborate to build and operate this computing system. This builds on a deep collaboration between OpenAI and NVIDIA going back to 2016, the first time Trump was elected, and a newer partnership between OpenAI and Oracle. This also builds on the existing OpenAI partnership with Microsoft. OpenAI will continue to increase its consumption of Azure as OpenAI continues its work with Microsoft with this additional compute to train leading models and deliver great products and services. All of us look forward to continuing to build and develop AI, and in particular AGI, for the benefit of all humanity. That's very creepy. We believe that this new step is critical on the path and will enable creative people to figure out how to use AI to elevate humanity. So it leads back to that. Again, she explains it, much more detailed than I would even understand. And I don't want to go off of this because this is her independent research. So just go to her Instagram if you want to see more. She clearly talks about it. But again, I thought it was, let's put another thing that we really should be talking about, putting a pin in. There's other reports, and again, when I say reports, a lot of it is just like people talking online, but like, she's an actual person who investigates technology as it relates to politics for a living. She has a Substack too, where I think she goes into a lot more depth on this. If you want to subscribe to that, I do not know her personally, but I thought that was very interesting because again, like it doesn't take a genius to like we were all kind of like what is even the benefit? Like we didn't understand why he was building a ballroom, why he was spending the money on that. Like other than like I guess sometimes presidents do make adjustments to the White House. It just seemed ostentatious, but a lot of people are saying, or she's now saying, I have the receipts to say this is most likely an underground data center, which that makes sense. And also possibly like an underground bunker where the president could hide if things get really out of hand. But what is the ballroom really? White House data center. You just like put in all these words and shit will come up. Yeah, like even if the AI overview even says like early reports suggest it may house an underground data center, though the primary public facing purpose is a 1,000 person event space. So like it's not even that deep into anything conspiratorial. And again, she is, and her Substack will come up. She put this on December 15th, 2025, if you want to watch the video of it online rather than on Instagram, because it's a larger format. It's easier because, there's a lot of information she's providing. And then it says opensecrets.org says Trump ballroom donors poised to benefit from AI plan they helped shape. 8 days before the White House announced plans to build a 90,000 square foot ballroom for state dinners and special events. President Donald Trump launched his AI action plan, a sweeping effort worth more than 90 federal policy actions to accelerate artificial intelligence development across the U.S. government and American businesses. So, it does seem like there's something's going on here, that everything is not exactly as it seems. But we will keep digging. Have you heard anything additional about this, Mike? I feel like this is more of a you story than a me story.
Yeah, no, I've been hearing this for months that Trump's up to something under that White House ballroom. So. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, who knows?
There's all, and another concern that they brought up is Trump's been doing things without the congressional approval. But it says there's also concerns that Trump's failure to seek congressional approval for the ballroom violates the intent of the Anti-Deficiency Act, which restricts government agencies from accepting private funds without explicit authorization from Congress. He said the statute was designed to prevent people from donating to the government in order to buy influence. So that's nice. Private donations. But they're saying that, private donations for things like this aren't without precedent. In the 1980s, Nancy Reagan sought $200,000 and received $800,000 in private funds for a refurbishment of the White House living quarters. All right. So there we go. He said the ballroom poses a threat to democracy, arguing it would turn proximity to the president into a political reward. It is selling access to the White House, to his work, his residence, and his... Well, we always knew Donald Trump was for sale. That's not new. But yeah, just a little more information on that, because I just hear a lot of people being like, why is he building a ballroom? Well, this is why. This all makes sense now. Real quick, there's a huge piece on this that I saw from another news source, but I got a shorter, literally, it's called In Brief from NewJerseyMonitor.com. When I kind of mentioned that people were, lower level politicians were doing bigger things than like Tim Walz as far as fighting ICE. This is an example of what I mean. Representative LaMonica McIver, who is rep from New Jersey, baby, she's facing literally 17 years in prison for visiting a detention center. And from NewJerseyMonitor.com from a couple days ago, it says Rep. LaMonica McIver to appeal judge's decision on her assault charges. The Congresswoman accused of assaulting immigration agents outside a detention center in Newark last year is appealing a judge's decision not to throw out the charges. She is facing 17 years in prison over allegations that she assaulted U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers outside Delaney Hall in Newark as officers moved to arrest City Mayor Ross Baraka on May 9th, 2025. McIver and two other members of Congress were at the facility that day to conduct an oversight visit. And then obviously a lot of places are kind of framing it as like she just went to the detention center to visit. Now it's like saying she assaulted people. I don't know if there's video of this. McIver has argued that she is protected under a clause of the U.S. Constitution that protects members of Congress while engaging in official legislative acts and has moved to have the 3 counts she faces thrown out. Federal prosecutors say her alleged assaults are not connected to any legislative acts. In November, U.S. District Court Judge Jamel K. Semper allowed 2 of the 3 counts she faces to move forward. And then in January, Semper declined to dismiss the 3rd charge, paving the way for McIver to stand trial. McIver had previously said that she would appeal Semper's November ruling to the U.S. Third Circuit Court of Appeals. And on Tuesday, she filed notice saying she is appealing his January ruling too. And, of course, since her arrest, she's been the target of Republican acts. Let's see if there's anything else. But I think that's definitely something to keep an eye on. And again, just all more showing this move toward authoritarianism. Now we're going to be arresting, charging, and possibly sending to prison elected officials who don't agree with what the administration is doing. And on that same note of just like, taking charge of other elected officials, Trump has somehow cajoled Texas to hand over their entire voter list. And this is something we've been talking about with other states. Like this has been a thing that this administration has been doing, has been telling different states, we'll have ICE leave if you hand over your entire voter list. Like we just talked about that last week, I believe. I forgot what state it was, but they were like, oh yeah, well, was it Minneapolis? Like we'll leave if you hand over your voter registration. And Texas did it. Yeah, Mike is saying it was Minnesota. Well, so this is, crazy, crazy business. Handing this over. I can't even believe this. Oh my God, there's a fundraiser pop up anyway. So this is from truthout.org. And this actually, I don't even know how I guess I hadn't really looked into handing over voter registration until I heard that ultimatum or whatever to Minnesota. And then I looked it up, and apparently earlier in January, Texas has handed this over, because this article is from January 9th. So it says Texas hands over its entire voter registration list to the Trump administration. The DNC said the move to hand over the voter roll could violate federal election law. And Texas officials have turned over the state's voter roll to the U.S. Justice Department, according to a spokesperson for the Texas Secretary of State's office, complying with the Trump administration's demands for access to data on millions of voters across the country. Everyone should be talking about this. The Justice Department last fall began asking all 50 states for their voter rolls, massive lists containing significant identifying information on every registered voter in each state, and other election-related data. The Justice Department has said the effort is central to its mission of enforcing election law, requiring states to regularly maintain voter lists by searching for and removing ineligible voters. So what they're going to do, it seems, if we're following patterns, is that they're going, this is like such common behavior even for life. This is like when you have a boyfriend who's always accusing you of cheating, and he's always accusing you of cheating because he's cheating. So that's what the government is doing right now, right? So this administration always likes to accuse the left of election fraud. And they're doing that because they are planning to commit election fraud. This is my thoughts. Again, you know how I feel. Lessons that we learn in our interpersonal and romantic relationships and our relationships with friends and colleagues and coworkers can all be applied to larger issues. Really there's only 10 issues that actually exist in the world, and they are just applied to different scenarios. So exactly what I said about cheating, that's exactly what this is. Anytime someone's saying, oh, they did this, it's a lot of times because they're hiding the fact that they're the ones guilty of that. Oh my God. Alicia Pierce, a spokesperson for the Texas Secretary of State's office, told VoteBeat and the Texas Tribune that the state had sent its voter roll, which includes information on approximately 18.4 million voters registered in Texas, to the Justice Department on December 23rd. And this also not only goes into election fraud, but it goes into surveillance. What is 50% of what we went over this week about? It's over. How can the government have more control, have more information on us, have more surveillance on us? We're talking about Oracle. We're talking about underground data centers. We're talking about ICE agents making a list of domestic terrorists. What is that? It's all getting more information on us, which should go against everything. This is like, Republicans, you don't like this. I know you don't. Libertarians, you don't like this. I know you don't. Don't pretend to like it now just to spite the left. I promise you, it's not a good idea. I promise you. And I will reiterate, happy to have you. Please register as a Democrat. We're happy to have you. The state included identifiable information about voters, including dates of birth, driver's license number, and the last 4 digits of their social security numbers. Experts and state officials around the country have raised concerns over the legality of the Justice Department's effort to obtain states' voter rolls and whether it could compromise voter privacy protections. And also a complete departure from Trump's, talk about how states should have more individual rights because that's what they want. He's completely flipped the script on that. That he wants to have full and total power now that he's back in office. The Justice Department has said it is entitled to the data under federal law, and withholding it interferes with its ability to exercise oversight and enforce federal election laws. The department has now sued 23 states and Washington, D.C. for declining to voluntarily turn over their voter rolls. Those states, which include some led by officials of both political parties, have generally argued that states are responsible for voter registration and are barred by state and federal law from sharing certain private information about voters. In an interview with the Charlie Kirk Show last month, Assistant Attorney General Harmeet K. Dillon said 13 states, including Texas, had voluntarily agreed to turn over their voter rolls. In a letter to Nelson dated Friday and obtained by VoteBeat and the Texas Tribune, the Democratic National Committee said the move to hand over the voter roll could violate federal law. DNC Chair Ken Martin said the turnover of such data is tantamount to a big government power grab and would invite privacy violations and could result in eligible voters being kicked off the rolls. The DNC, he said, so don't be surprised if you show up to vote and they can't find your name. The DNC, he said in a statement, won't idly stand by as the Trump DOJ tries to get access to Texas voters-sensitive information. In its letter, Daniel Freeman...
we'll fundraise at every opportunity. We promise.
What?
It said the DNC will not sit idly by. No, we will fundraise at every turn.
Well, I mean, everyone's guilty.
We will just keep getting your money to fight Trump and not do a goddamn thing.
Absolutely, everyone's guilty of that. In its letter, that's a bipartisan issue. In its letter, Daniel Freeman, the DNC's litigation director, requested records related to the Justice Department's request and warned the party could take further action. Some election officials and voting rights watchdog groups have raised concerns about what the Justice Department intends to do with the information provided by the states, with some suggesting it may be used to create a national database of voters. VoteBeat and the Texas Tribune have asked the Texas Secretary of State's office for a signed copy of the agreement between the state and the Justice Department, known as a Memorandum of Understanding, governing how the sharing of the voter data would work and steps the state has agreed to take in response to any questions about voter eligibility raised by the Justice Department. The state has not yet released it. In a proposed Memorandum of Understanding sent to Wisconsin officials last month and publicly released by state officials, the Justice Department said that upon receiving the state's voter data, it would check the state's voter roll for list maintenance issues, insufficiencies, anomalies, or concerns. The department would then notify the state and give it 45 days to correct any problems. The state would then agree to resubmit the voter roll to the department. Wisconsin declined the agreement, and the Justice Department has since sued the state. In his letter to Nelson, Freeman identified 2 potential legal violations associated with some of those clauses, though acknowledged he didn't yet know whether Texas had signed such an agreement and asked for records. Freeman wrote that the 45-day removal period, as laid out in the public versions of the memorandum, would run afoul of a provision in the National Voter Registration Act that lays out specific conditions, such as having missed 2 elections after receiving a notice from the state, for states to remove registered voters from the rolls. Freeman also wrote that federal law also bars states from doing systemic voter removals from the rolls within 90 days of a primary or general election. Because Texas has an upcoming March 3rd primary, May 26th runoff, and November 3rd general election, the state cannot conduct such list maintenance until after the runoff, Freeman wrote. The 90-day moratorium would then kick off again on August 6th ahead of the November election. Texas agreed to the Memorandum of Understanding and released the data, but told the department that it did so with the understanding that it wouldn't limit or affect the duties, responsibilities, and rights of the state under either the NVRA or other federal laws, according to the 2 letters to the Texas Secretary of State's office sent to the Justice Department in December and released to VoteBeat and the Texas Tribune. And also, this kind of makes me think about, Talarico versus Jasmine Crockett, because it's like, oh, all this is going on. They're making changes to voter rolls. Is this also a way, because, there have already been reports of the GOP meddling in that Senate race. Is this just additional chaos to add to it, so that they can push Ken Paxton through? we'll see. All things to keep into account. And please don't get distracted. If Jasmine Crockett isn't far left enough for you, okay. But I just don't think it's great to like put too much maybe, if you're pro Talarico, just be pro Talarico rather than be anti Jasmine Crockett. I feel like that's what the GOP wants you to do, right? So just be loudly pro Talarico if that's really the candidate for Senate that you like more. Because I think when we continuously on the left just fight each other, that's just really rolling out a red carpet for Ken Paxton, which is what we want to avoid doing. Mike's rolling his eyes in the booth again.
Yo, if you
because his only concern is Israel.
No, because it has nothing to do with Israel in this exact instance. What it is,
it's just a strategy, though. I'm saying my strategy is certainly not saying just support anyone willy nilly. Yes, of course, if you like Talarico better, go for him. But I don't think it's attack Jasmine Crockett as the strategy. It's go hard Talarico.
Yeah, but it's like you don't have to be necessarily invested in your Senate race. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you should be.
I don't know.
I think you should be.
How many non-presidential year Senate races have you been in? Have you gone to the polling place for?
Yeah, that's kind of my point. That's with everything I've been doing for the past several years, Mike, getting involved in non-presidential elections. That's kind of my entire point here, which is like we've all been guilty of sitting out those elections, and it's gotten us into a very bad place.
I'm just saying this idea of like, okay, well, look, it's either Crockett or this Republican dude who is probably not very good. Hold your nose and vote for Crockett. That doesn't fly anymore unless...
No one's saying that. So I'm saying if you like Talarico, go for him.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because we don't know who it's going to be right now. It looks like it's going to be Talarico if he's 9 points ahead of Crockett.
Yeah.
I'm just saying don't start infighting now. Right now, ahead of the primaries, go hard for Talarico if that's who you want to see on the ballot for the general election. Go hard for him. But what we don't want to do is just make them fight amongst them all to the point where Ken Paxton's laughing and the GOP is laughing because they created chaos as usual. It's like what is it? It's like when Cartman is like, I am Captain Chaos or whatever. Or who is it? Cartman?
No, it's Butters.
It's Butters.
Professor Chaos.
Professor Chaos, right. It's Butters. That's what it feels like. That's what it literally feels like we're doing right now. It feels like the GOP is Butters. And it's working.
No, Butters would never. Butters is a sweet boy.
Right. Wait, doesn't Cartman have like a some kind of a guy that he does too, some kind of a superhero? I like Butters a lot.
Yeah, no, I believe if I'm not mistaken, Cartman is the coon.
Right. Okay. Well, is it called that?
I genuinely believe that is what it is called because that's the kind of humor South Park be doing.
For sure. Like, it does seem like, that is one because I was like, I feel like he did do some kind of a superhero. Yeah. And then there's like Mysterion. Who is that?
I believe that's Kenny.
Okay. All right.
And then there's the redheaded kids. I can't remember his name, but he's General Disarray.
Oh, right. All right. Oh, man. South Park. All right. Well, that's our episode for today, guys. I hope you learned something. I hope you thought a little bit. I hope you have something to, talk to your friends and relatives about. It's tough times, but let's not lose hope. Let's not. We all need to be doing something. We all need to be speaking up. Again, you have some time. You go to a protest. You donate some money. You call your elected officials. There are plenty of very short free or inexpensive calls to actions that we can all engage in right now. They're coming for everyone. It is official. And but together, as we've already seen, we can stop them. We've already seen that Trump when Fox and Friends is saying they don't like what Trump is doing, he's pulling back. He's changing a little bit. He does want to do well in those midterms. So keep the pressure on. Stay safe. Record things. Don't taunt ICE agents if it's not actually helping because you're going to get your face blown off. Truly. But that doesn't mean back down. That just means like we don't. I feel like there's a lot of like unnecessary taunting sometimes. That's like we have been able to do before, and I just don't think we can do that right now. Like if you're gonna die for a cause, make sure you go out doing something like protecting someone like Alex Pretti. So yeah. That's it. I wish I had a better thing to see you on, to end on. I hope I see you in Tucson, Arizona at Pageant to the People on February 21st. Again, Tucson is in Pima County. I'll be there with the mayor of Tucson and 2 city council members, and hopefully you'll be there. We'll ask questions and we'll figure out, we'll have, obviously the time, in these times we're going to have a big conversation about how municipal politicians can fight against ICE and how they can get support from federal politicians. And it'll be a good night to benefit a great cause. And yeah, if there's anything else you need from me, withoutacountrypodcast@gmail.com. Mike, where can people find you?
At the M Harrington on Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. And tomorrow night, Sam Rides Deadly Duos. We got teams coming in from, I believe it's Germany, England, Australia, and the United States of America. All going to be 2-on-2 battles at Melrose Ballroom. All the seats in the house sold out. Standing room only available for a limited time at thearmoredleague.com.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I appreciate you endlessly. If you want to join the Patreon, it's patreon.com/withoutacountry. All hail to our great leader, Christopher Fungi. And just because ICE is attacking people in the streets doesn't mean that we can't keep speaking out. Where is Shelly Miscavige, guys? The truth is in there. See you next time. Bye.